Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our 1 p.m. City Council meeting. Mayor Marianne Baldwin is absent and excused, though she should be joining us at some point during this meeting. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I feel like that side of the table is always tasked with doing it, so I'm going to ask Councilmember Harrison to lead us.
All right, I got it. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we start the items that are on our agenda, there was one item we were supposed to take care of at our work session but did not, which is announcing and noticing our City Council retreat for 2024. The retreat will occur on January 26th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Wake Med Soccer Park in Cary, and on January 27th from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 5 Points Adult Center in Raleigh. All of these meetings will be live streamed. I want to thank Councilmember Patton for leading the Retreat Planning Committee and the Retreat Planning Committee members, Councilmember Jones and Councilmember Black. And if we could have maybe Michelle Millette come to the podium if she's here and just give a quick rundown of the agenda for both days. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon. Michelle Millette with the City Manager's Office. So thank you guys for calling me to the podium. It's been a wonderful time working with the committee as well as Councilmember Patton. So I will just hit the highlights of the retreat. So you all will be journeying to Cary, Wake Med Soccer Park on Friday, January 26th. We're going to start with the Lunch and Learn, where you all will be able to get some insight on the town of Cary and the Women's Soccer League and some of the things they've been doing over there. We will jump right into a robust conversation around public comment. You will get some insight from your legislative lobbyist, as well as get a really good overview of your budget and financial outlook. You will jump right into I would say, a meet and greet with our counterparts over at the county. Next, we will start on Saturday with, at the 5 Point Active Adult Center. You will do a recap of Friday and kind of jump into some of your priorities, what's important to you all, an overview of the strategic plan, which will be coming back to you in more detail in a work session. You will have a wonderful, I think, opportunity to discuss affordable housing efforts, as well as go through an exercise, and then have another update, a follow-up to the year presentation by the Community Engagement Group, is I think to talk more specifically around boards and commissions, CACs, and just engagement overall, as well as a closing operational update with the city manager, and then you'll have some closing remarks, and then you will not adjourn the meeting, but you will move your meeting to a tour where you all will go look at some of the construction work at Healing Transition as well as Plaza Play. Any questions?
Thank you. And all of those details will be on the City of Raleigh website?
Yes, we will post the agenda like normal, but again, as we're still working through logistics, I would recommend us not post today, but it will be posted, and the website itself is updated with the location details today.
So the website will have location details, and it'll be noticed that all of the meetings are live streamed, and then the agenda will go out like a regular meeting agenda prior to the retreat.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any other questions from council members?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Michelle, for all your work on this.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have the consent agenda. One item was pulled. Councilmember Jones pulled F4. Do we have a motion to approve the remaining consent agenda items?
Move for approval.
Second.
It was moved for approval and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That was unanimous. Councilmember Jones, you pulled one item.
I did. Thank you so much. I pulled F4, the no parking zone on West Roanoke Park Drive. This area is in my district, close to the rezoning on Bickett that we just passed in November. And I've heard from residents that are being mostly affected. We have explained that it is a line of sight, so it's a safety concern for the residents in the area, but I'd love to have a further conversation with our traffic department just to help highlight some of the notes that residents have made and kind of get some answers to that and see how we move forward.
And are you asking to have that conversation here? Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we have anyone from transportation? Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. I know we briefly talked about it, so I just want to first kind of, if you can help me highlight this so that the public understands what we're talking about, and then I have a few questions.
Okay, so Paul Callen with Transportation, so good afternoon, everyone. So on the council agenda, we had the no parking there at West Roanoke Drive and Bickett Boulevard. We'd gotten a concern from community members about line of sight at this intersection. So staff went out last month and looked at it and basically made an observation that we do have some sightline concerns out there. So as far as the deployment, we're quickly able to do a no parking, kind of a first kind of stopgap. And then what we're looking at doing, we actually have it on our list. We just have several, I guess a long list to do evaluations for four-way stops at this intersection. So we're about 90 days out just due to the priorities and as long as the list is. So we're about 90 days out to look at that to see if that would qualify for a four-way stop. And I think Councilmember Jones, you had mentioned maybe look at a more comprehensive look, which we can. Tony Howard is actually in parking right here in the audience. So I know Tony's worked a lot with the community members out here and happy to look at other intersections. Because like we had mentioned before, you know, as density increases over here, maybe the likelihood of looking at some four-way stop intersections throughout this community may be warranted.
Sure. Thank you so much. Mr. Howard, I do want to commend you. The residents are very, very happy with the response time and all the explanation that you gave. They just happen to disagree. So that's okay, and that's what we're here for. Just so that council understands where I'm coming from, this is that Bickett rezoning, and so we're looking to increase density in this area, but this isn't the only intersection that's going to have the same problem. It was built a long time ago, and the same sightline problems are at all the intersections. So there's a concern from the community that they don't want to do things piecemeal, because the only time that the city will do it is if there's a complaint. So currently there was a complaint. The resident has signaled that they would like to rescind the complaint, but that's nothing that the city can now turn their eye on and say, oh, I can't see that it's a line of sight issue. So it's how can we have a bigger discussion rather than this being residents who were property owners and now have lost their parking, you know, that's in front of their house. So that affects guests that they can have. If they have an ADU and they have extra tenants, they now don't have parking in front of them. So it brought up a lot of questions that I was not able to answer to residents on the phone. So I'm just wondering what the thoughts are or what we could do for this, understanding that there are concerns for safety, but beyond that, how do we make this the most comprehensive area for safety and for convenience or, you know, property rights to have their parking in front of them. So I just wanted to open that up for discussion. I didn't have any further insights as to what should be done other than maybe a bigger overview of the whole area, but I wanted to see what your thoughts were.
Councilmember Patton.
Yeah. Hi.
Hey.
Sorry, can you tell me again, you mentioned something that was 60 days out. What is
It's
that?
about 90 days out to go out and do an evaluation. So we have to put traffic counters out. We have to pull crash report history to look at whether it would warrant a four-way stop there. And just due to the long list that we have as far as priorities, looking at those intersections, we're about 90 days out right now.
Okay. And so if we flash forward and we look in our crystal ball, 90 days out, you do the assessment.
Yes.
If it were warranted, then these parking spaces will already be eliminated because there would be 25 feet.
That's right. We'd bring some back. So roughly it's about 70 feet we're taking along one property. So we would basically take out about 50 feet. So 25 is in the ordinance as far as corner clearances. So if we do the no parking today, we come back, do an evaluation and find out that the four-way is warranted, then the property owner would be gaining some parking back.
Parking back.
Yes.
Okay. And if in that 90 days, are you able to do like a more comprehensive, like neighborhood-wide assessment of those, or does it really have to be intersection by intersection?
We're open. Like I say, if we've got some points of contact, more than happy for the parking and traffic engineering staff to work with the community on that to look at a more comprehensive viewpoint out there, again, with the density increases, and that may be something we want to do. So, but again, we just brought this item today just because this item was brought to us, and just from safety and liability, we just want to go ahead and act on this kind of as a first stopgap, and then look at the four-way to see if it meets the warrants on that. But happy to work with the community.
No, I really appreciate that. And I can definitely put you in contact with some of the leaders of that area that we worked with on the Bickett case to ensure that more voices are heard. But just so that I'm understanding, and I want to make that clear, if it's approved today and then that happens, if it is warranted, then they could possibly gain some of that parking
That's
back.
right. We'd have to bring a council agenda item back for four-way, and you would see that at a later date here, and then that parking, we'd basically just be moving the signs out there to gain more parking back if the four-way was warranted.
Okay. I think that that is a reasonable compromise to make sure that we are fulfilling our liability purposes and we're not in jeopardy, but also letting neighbors know that we see you, and we want to do that larger scale review of that. It's what I would say. I would ask the council for their support on to make sure that we're looking at this holistically on a larger scale moving forward.
Is that your motion?
Oh, I would motion yes to approve, but with the addendum that we would look at this area and a lot of intersections in partnership with the residents to see if there's other solutions we can come up with.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just give Tony kudos here. So he's been with the department about 10 years, and again, I'm really proud of how he works with the community here, so I know he'll do a good job. So if you just send those names along, we'll be sure to pull that together.
Thank you for all you do. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Next, we have the report and recommendation of the Planning Commission.
Good afternoon. Hannah Reckow, Planning and Development, joined by Blenny Miller, Chair of the Planning Commission. So I'm going to start, as usual, with just a forecast of upcoming holidays. You've got President's Day on the day before your February 20th meeting, and then Ramadan starting mid-March through the beginning of April. And here are the currently scheduled public hearings. You have a special meeting on January 30th for the New Bern Station Area Planning Study, Comprehensive Plan Amendment, and Rezoning. And then the February 6th evening hearing, there are 5 items scheduled. 4 of these are continued hearings, where the hearing's already open, and then one TCZ 4923 would be a new hearing you'd be opening. So there are 2 cases coming out of Planning Commission. The first is Z2823, 3725 Hardin Road, about 7 acres, requesting from R4 to NX7 PLCU. The Planning Commission recommends approval 6-1 and made an additional recommendation in response to some discussion with neighbors on their traffic calming concerns. So the neighborhood currently has a request in through the neighborhood traffic management program for a traffic calming project, and the recommendation is that the council would schedule a reevaluation of that for the purposes of the priority list at the time of site plan of this project. And then the suggested public hearing date for this is March 5th, the evening session. And the second case is Z3323, 3206 Old Buffalo Road. It's about a little over 1.5 acres, requesting from R6 to CX3 GRCU. The Planning Commission recommends approval unanimously, and the suggested public hearing date is February 20th. Happy to answer any questions you have.
For the first one on Hardin, it mentions a reevaluation of the NTMP. When was the first one done?
I don't know exactly, but I know that there's they're eligible every 12 months, and they're currently eligible for reevaluation. So I believe it was more than 12 months ago.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Jones.
So the first case, Hardin Road, is in my district, and I've had some conversation with both the developer, the lawyer team, and the residents. There's a lot of concern here with this possible traffic light, which is what this reevaluation is for. If it comes back that it's negative, that it's not warranted, then residents really feel like there's not much of a plan for them. I would like to place this into our transit committee meeting prior to this March 5th possible public hearing date, either in January, I know we're already meeting, or making a possible February meeting for that to happen so the residents can come and explain a little bit further what else their concerns are. I don't want to get into the weeds explaining everything right now because this is just setting the public hearing, but I was just wondering your thoughts, Councilor Branch, on being able to add that to the Transit Committee schedule.
I mean, if we set the public hearing for March 5th, then we can review it in committee, as long as we just go ahead and set it for March 5th.
We can. The only concern there is if there are different conditions that come out of that there's nothing we can do once we set the public hearing. So should we hold off scheduling the public hearing? And I'm not sure the best way to go.
I don't think we can take any conditions at this point anyway.
Not currently, but once
Yeah.
the hearing has been opened, then the case may be
Yeah,
submitted.
we have to have the hearing before any conditions can be submitted.
Got it. Okay.
Or
okay.
to clarify, you could hold off on scheduling the public hearing and have it come back as a special item. Then the applicant can make amendments. That's one option, and the other option is to wait until the hearing.
Yeah, I guess the only thing is that I'm not sure what those amendments would be. Like, I don't have anything in mind. I really want to hear from the residents. So to Councilor Branch's point, if there's nothing they can do until then, we need to listen to them first to hear what that is. So possibly setting the public hearing for March 5th, but asking, because we have 2 meetings before then, if it can be either placed on the January Transit Committee or schedule a February one as well.
I would do February 22nd.
February 22nd. And with that, then I can definitely work with the teams on both residents and the development side to be ready for it. So that sounds fine for me if that's possible.
Is
So
that
I
a
would
mo-
move-
is that a motion?
Yeah, I would move to also, to set the public hearing for March 5th, but prior to that, to send it to our February Transit Committee meeting.
Second.
I have questions about the other case, so I just want to
All
make
right,
sure
could
we're
we-
not setting the public hearing for that one.
You're just
Oh,
on
this
this
is
one.
just for this one. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. Now, the other item.
Yeah. Hi. Questions about this one. So this is not properly in my district, but definitely in my corridors of regular use. This area of Capitol Boulevard is like strip mall city, and we like envision a future where there's North BRT, and I just want to, while we haven't like set the plan and BRT is not imminent, it certainly is like on my mind that we get redevelopment in this area right, so that when BRT is there, we haven't like solidified something we dislike for another 30 years. So is there a way, what I don't want is for only a single story commercial use to go on this site. Is there a condition that the city could accept that would require the use of residential in this mixed use development?
Yeah, if the city can
If it
regulate.
were voluntarily offered by the applicant.
Right. So land use is one of the topics that zoning conditions can regulate, can prohibit uses, could also in theory require certain uses if the property owner were willing to commit to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they could offer something up that would state that they would include some residential.
Yes, I believe that's a zoning
Okay.
condition the city could accept.
And then I'm not sure if the applicant is here or watching from afar, but I'll just note that the staff report said that it could become more consistent, this could become more consistent with the future vision for this area by prohibiting some more intensive uses. I wonder if you could share what those types of prohibitions could be if offered by the applicant.
Yeah, I think typically the uses that are allowed in CX that are deemed typically less compatible with residential are the industrial uses that are allowed under CX. And some of the more intensive commercial uses, there are a number of, for example, vehicle-related uses that may not be appropriate for residential areas. And then there's also policies, I believe, in the staff report pointing to more high-impact uses, so things like bar restaurant uses that might have impacts to surrounding residential areas.
Okay. So the applicant could offer up prohibitions on bars and nightclubs or drive-throughs or like auto body repair, that type of thing. Cool. Okay. I hope they are listening and will hear that. But with all of that said, I'm happy to set the public hearing for February 20th unless there's other questions.
That's a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Staff, what I would ask is that you communicate that to the applicant, so there are no surprises. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have special items. First is Growth and Natural Resources Committee, item 2205. What happened in work session?
We received the presentation information, some questions were answered, but with this item under special items, we were waiting for this item before we gave any direction or made any motions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Justin Rometta, Planning and Development. As you just heard, you received a presentation this morning at your work session from staff on a list of recommended items coming out of the Growth and Natural Resources Committee that consist of some potential text changes and other administrative actions that you could give direction to staff to conduct. If you'd like to do so now, now would be the appropriate time to take action or direct staff on any or all of those. And of course, if you have any questions, we have representatives from Planning and Development, from Parks, and from Engineering Services as well.
Councilmember Harrison.
Yeah, thank you again. I would like to make a motion to move forward on all of the suggested items. I think prohibiting invasive species, having additional parking lot standards with green stormwater infrastructure, opportunities for native pollinator habitat, improving our street species list with natives, adding more green stormwater infrastructure opportunities for our right-of-ways, for affordable housing, increasing stormwater program resources. All of these opportunities will really make our city much greener, much more environmentally friendly and responsible. So that would be my motion to move forward on all of the recommended items.
Councilmember Melton.
Yeah, I just have two quick questions. I know some of these are going to trigger a text change, so when that happens, it goes out to the public for feedback, then back to us for final decision. For any of these items that are not going to trigger a text change, is there going to be another touch point for council on it? I'm just curious if we hear anything from the community, if there's an opportunity to incorporate that support or concern or feedback, since some of these don't trigger a text change.
Yeah, I would, any of those items, that there would be some follow-up with you all on, whether that be in the form of a weekly update report or a future agenda item, depending on the individual item. Yeah.
Councilmember Jones.
I just wanted to uplift that the request for this came from a resident, and I know we said this in the work session, but I want to make sure that residents watching now understand that your voice matters, and when you have something that you want to see done or changed, getting it to the table, whether it's through counselors or the mayor, and heard is a possibility. And so we have a group of residents who did that, and we're coming up with these text changes and these changes that will affect our community for years and years to come. And so I'm really, really thankful for residents using us as that conduit of information and resources. So really shout out to residents. Thank you so much.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have survey results for municipal elections.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Taisha Hinton, Taisha Mosley with Office of Community Engagement. I know, I'm still working on it. So today is going to be a collaborative effort. Our office will, Dale Neal from our office will come and give you some background of how we got to this point. Unfortunately, our consultant with ETC is stuck in Kansas City, and so he was unable to come today. So you are therefore stuck with me to give you his results, and I will do my best. And then we'll have Janie Richardson from the City Attorney's Office come to give you some reminders just about the charter amendment process, potential timelines, etc. And then I'll be back with questions. So stay tuned for the ride. I'll turn that over to Dale Neal from our office.
Excuse me. Good afternoon. I'm going to give a brief overview of how we got to this point with the election survey and the on the council districts and the compensation. Let's see, start here. Back in 2020, City Council came to us. We appointed a 10-member study group to review how the city elects and compensates the mayor and the city council. Over the course of that year, the study group met numerous times. The study group did conduct their meetings virtually due to COVID. All meetings were open to the public. The study group established a unique email for residents to provide feedback. And they also decided to make recommendations only that received unanimous support. Here are those 6 recommendations here. Recommendations were to transition to 2-year terms instead of 4, adopt staggered terms, increase compensation for city council and mayor, also move elections to even years. They also recommended city council should direct staff to develop and implement a comprehensive voter engagement program, and that we should increase the size to 9 by adding 1 district seat. The study group presented these recommendations to council in September of 2021. In November of 2021, council directed our office to conduct additional outreach, so that's what we did. We sent out communication to 9,000 GovDelivery subscribers. On the Raleigh events page, we were in contact with over 1,300 people. We sent out 13 social media posts between November of 2021 and January of 2022. And those posts were shared or commented on over 2,200 times. And we also put physical flyers in community centers ahead of our 5 listening sessions. And we, like I said, we created 5 in-person listening sessions. We reinstated the council's study group email. And we also had council terms and compensation survey, which could be taken online or in person at the listening sessions. Here's a list of those listening sessions here. Like I said, 3 were in person at Chavis, Laurel Hills, and Green Road Community Centers. And then we also had 2 done virtually. The views we had, over 5,200 views, over 1,200 participants, over 7,300 responses, and over 250 comments. Some of the feedback that we got from those listening sessions and online polls are listed here. We brought this back to council in February of 2022. A little bit more of the timeline here. Our staff provided a second overview of the recommendations. City Council then directed us to return with information and an estimated cost of a third-party pollster to conduct a survey of the general public. In June of 2023, we came back with 2 potential vendors, and then in August, we entered into a contract with ECT to complete the randomized survey. And as Taisha said, Jason was supposed to be here, but due to inclement weather, he could not join us. So now I'll turn it back to Taisha.
So that lovely photo just throw me up there on the screen. ETC is actually the same vendor who conducts the city's community survey that the Office of Strategy and Innovation completes. So you're familiar with their work. And so what he's included in the presentation is his purpose and methodology, major findings, summary, and then I'll take questions from you. Anything related specifically to methodology, I may have to defer back to Jason for, but I'll do my best to get your questions answered. And so for the survey that he sent out, again, gather input from residents on multiple aspects of the current election process. The survey was actually sent to over 7,000 homes. They received 1,013 completed surveys. That's about 200 in each district. And those homes are all randomly selected. on the survey, they got a paper copy of it, which included a QR code, or they could complete the survey online. So here you'll see the representation of survey completion by district, again, about 200. A part of the survey being randomly sampled is that randomly selected is that they also have to include the demographic. The survey respondents should be the demographic of the city as well. So the information that you see there on that screen matches the city's demographics almost exactly according to U.S. Census data. Here it is by gender, so 50% female, 49% male, and then 1% non-binary, transgender, or they prefer not to self-describe. Again, this is the information on completed surveys. You'll see that your highest percentage when it comes to individuals who've lived in Raleigh is 31 plus years. That's 30% down there. So there's a pretty good representation about how long they've lived here. And let's jump into the topics. So the first is the level of support for city council members to serve a 4-year term instead of a 2-year term. You'll see that about 40% of respondents were in agreement of that, and about 50% were not supportive, and 10% unsure. So I'm just going to keep going, and I'll grab your questions. This is that same information by district. So it's very similar. I think by age, one thing to just point out is that respondents under the age of 45 are most supportive of that by age. You see that at the top. And then that's also broken down by the individuals and the number of years they've lived in Raleigh. Respondents who've lived here for less than 5 years, 5 years or less, 5 years or less are most supportive of this one. Topic 2 on the survey was the level of support for staggered terms. And so you'll see here that 50% of respondents are supportive of it, 38% are not. And then again, that same information is broken down by district. District A was the most supportive. It's also broken down by age. And again, those respondents under the age of 45 were the most supportive. And then they asked the question of the same question based off the number of years they lived in Raleigh. And respondents who have been here for 5 years or less were the most supportive. The third topic that was on the survey discussed their support for adding city council district seats. You had 54% of respondents who were in support of adding district seats. And then you had 29% who were not, and 18% unsure. That information by district. District A, again, was the most supportive of that at about 59%. Broken down by age, our respondents under the age of 65 and over were the least supportive of this idea. And then based off of the number of years they lived in Raleigh, to no surprise, respondents living here for 5 years or less are the most supportive. So it's pretty consistent. All right, and then the level of support by adding at-large council members was topic number 4. And you'll see that you have 46% of respondents who are supportive of this, 41% who are not, and 14% unsure. And those same lovely blue bar charts by district. You see those numbers, it's pretty consistent. I would say based off of this, District E was the least supportive. By age, respondents under the age of 35 are the most supportive. And then based off the number of years they've lived in Raleigh, you guessed it, respondents living here 5 years or less are the most supportive of it. So in summary, 53% are supportive of you all adding district seats, 28% are not. 50% are supportive of the staggered terms, 39% are not. 46 are supportive of you adding at-large council members, 41% are not. And then 40% are supportive of council members serving a 4-year term instead of the 2-year term. 50% are not supportive. And as you probably caught from my sarcasm earlier, overall respondents who've lived here 5 years or less and responded under the age of 45 are the most supportive of the changes to the election process. Can I answer any questions about this part before I turn it over to Janie?
Any questions? Councilmember Patton, do you have a question?
I do, yeah. I saw Councilmember Jones' mic, so I was given a second. But
No.
hello, hi. Am I correct in understanding there was this one that we're presented with is just the randomized survey, but there was also a public input version of it put out to all residents?
The public input version was the one that Dale showed you earlier. This one was the randomized survey completed by our consultant. So 2 years ago, a year and a half ago was the public input version.
Okay, so in this cycle, there was not two, there was not a digital one and this one, it was
Correct.
just this.
There was a digital version of this for the households who were randomly selected to participate.
Okay, understood. Thank you for that clarification. I thought they were like parallel, like the controlled ones and the public one. So thank you for that clarification. And then can you, when I was looking through the backup, it looked like it really was pretty representative that the respondents really matched the breakdown. But can you remind us, or if you have it, the age breakdown of citywide demographics?
I don't believe he included let me go back. Let me double check for you. He included, bless you, race and ethnicity, gender citywide, and how long they've lived in the city of Raleigh. I can request age demographics for you.
Okay, that'd be great.
You're welcome.
Done for now.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. Oh, Councilmember Jones?
I don't know that I have such as much of a question as I'd really like to hear what the rest of council feels about the results that were shared. I'm really appreciative to the third party. I forget the name.
ETC.
ETC. As looking through it, it was very balanced, and districts were represented and age groups were represented. So I really appreciate the work that they put into it. But I'd love to just learn, what do you guys read from it?
Well, there's certainly some consistency among age groups, which I thought was interesting.
Does it correlate to what you as individuals want to see in this? I mean, I think this is a great representative of what residents want, and I'm wondering how you guys are feeling balancing it. I'll just put my thoughts out there first, that waiting for the age demographics, I think I've heard that the typical age is like 38. And as I see that and we move forward, I feel like these results, both the ones from 2 years ago and this one, are pushing more towards, change in that 4-year staggered direction. So that's what I'm reading from it. But if anybody sees anything else, I'd love to, learn from that as well.
I think it's a reflection of some of the experiences and things I've seen. I mean, even if I look at my district in these results, they're about close to 50%. And that's what I hear as I go out among those individuals in my district. And what's interesting, I think it's also a reflection of this council, when we had the great big conversation almost a year ago where this council was like torn 50%. I think what's telling is, as I look in this, some of the views and opinions are a little opposite of what I think were some of the conversation we had at the table. But that's why I think it's key that we had this second survey that wasn't just anybody who wants to apply, like doing it random and getting a good, reflection of the overall community.
As a district counselor, I thought it was very interesting looking at topic 3 and topic 4 specifically, where both have about even numbers as far as somewhat supportive and very supportive, but overall, when it regards like adding district seats, the support for not being supportive and not being sure about it is a lot smaller than adding an at-large counselor. And I know that was something that I talked about a lot, and then I got some backlash, like, we don't need any more at-large seats. And I thought maybe it was a way for people of a diverse background to be able to get into politics. And now I'm seeing that maybe that's not like what the public thinks. So I'm thinking we need to really be thoughtful about whatever we do with district seats, from the study that came out back in 2022, from this survey that we have now, of being thoughtful about district seats and like how we're splitting up what we're making, because I'm seeing the support here for more district seats and not at large.
Great. Councilmember Harrison?
Yeah, I just want to add that I think any changes that we might consider, I would appreciate if they did not go into effect until 2026. I just think that it's important that we are thinking about the long-term future of our changes here and not any short-term impacts. As folks here might be running again, and I'd rather we think holistically for the future of the city and not about any of our own, thoughts.
I would agree with that. One other thing that could be done if we chose to is put this on the ballot in 2024 and let the voters decide if they want 4-year terms or not. So that could be an option. What I was going to suggest is staff bring this back to us, potentially for a work session, for us to have a discussion and just kind of have some more thoughts on it. I think that, too, another thing that was not on here is primary. And if we were to go to 4-year staggered terms, I would support having a primary. I think that would make sense. And that wasn't something that was even presented in the survey, because then that gets more complicated. I think that's more of a discussion type of topic. So if everybody's okay with that, bringing it back.
City Attorney's Office presentation.
Yeah, the city attorney still has a portion.
You haven't finished it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're going to go over timing of what needs to be.
Yeah.
Janie Richardson with the City Attorney's Office. I'm just here to give you a brief overview of the charter amendment process if you all do want to proceed with any of these survey changes. So per the general statutes, the city can implement these changes to their charter following a 3-meeting process. It's some of the only changes that we can make to our charter without the General Assembly's assistance. So that's something kind of interesting to point out. As I noted, there's 3 meetings that have to happen. The first meeting is when you would adopt the resolution to consider the amendments. The second meeting is when you would hold your public hearing on those or on that resolution. And then the third meeting is when you would either adopt the amendment or choose to hold the referendum election on it. These meetings don't have to be consecutive, so there's options to have additional engagement between them. You just have to comply with those timelines that are shown on the slide. And then one note of caution is, during the first meeting, after you adopt that resolution and those amendments, or to consider certain amendments, you can't revise or amend those amendments in the later meetings without starting the 3-meeting process over again. So before we get into the timelines, just Some key dates to consider. As you all know, filing is in July, and the election is in November, and these are just the specific dates for 2024 and 2026. If you were wanting to implement any of these changes in 2024, which I think I heard you may not, but if you would want to, there is the option to do that. There's just no option for a referendum before the November of 2024 election. And then just as a note, if there is a citizen petition filed for a referendum, obviously then that would happen in November of 2024, and so these changes wouldn't be implemented. I indicated that this is for 4-year staggered terms and at-large council members. That's only because the maps might take a little longer to get in place, and we'd need that to be done by July. So that kind of puts us on a tight time frame. And I think I heard at one of the last meetings that you all wanted to do some more engagement related to maps if that's the path you go down. But it's certainly something we can look into if it's being considered.
Could I ask a question? If we were to put this on the ballot in 2024, let the voters decide, when would we have to make that decision?
So this is this next slide here. The recommended time frame is in March. You can wait up until June, and then you'd have to have those 3 consecutive meetings without calling any special meetings because it has to be completed by August.
Okay.
You could also put the referendum on the ballot in March of 2026. This would allow you to wait until 2025. This is just kind of an example timeline. Really, you have anywhere between October of 2024 and November of 2025 to really begin the process here. Also, if you do want 2026 implementation, if you want 2026 implementation without a referendum, I'd still recommend going with one of these 2 timelines because of the option for the citizen-initiated petition. That way you can be assured that regardless of what happens, whatever is chosen will be in place in 2026. And I'm happy to provide additional timeframes for you all. I know you had mentioned coming back to a work session, so I can do that, and then I'm happy to answer any more questions you have on the process.
Councilmember Melton?
I don't have questions on the process, just some thoughts that if we're going to put the issue of 4-year staggered terms on a ballot, I think it should go in the this November 2024 ballot. I think waiting until March of 26 is tough because I know a lot of folks, just from experience, start planning for their campaigns or thinking about their campaigns much sooner than March with filing in July. And if the ballot referendum doesn't happen until March 26 and then filing for November 26 elections in July, that is a pretty quick turnaround to see what the results of that election are to filing. So I think we should be planning to do it this election, which would be that, I think, March timeframe. That you, and to be clear, that would be an issue on the ballot November 2024, and if it passes, then those elections would take effect in 26, not saying to take effect in 24. On the issue of districts or at large, that was the thing that the study group, I think, was most conflicted on. They ended up recommending districts. We got some more information. It's still split, though I agree with Councilmember Black that the support seems to be there for districts more so than at large. And so I think those are more conversations we need to have. Obviously, the difficulty with districts is we will have to draw new districts, and so we would need a lot of time to have a very robust and transparent process for that. So that may even be like a 28 issue, not a 26 issue. But
It could be 26, but, I mean, that decision would have to be made quicker as opposed to,
yeah,
well, it would have to begin the process in terms of planning and deciding, too, if an outside group is brought in to do it and whatnot.
So it seems like the first thing we need to tackle is the potential ballot referendum for the term, 4-year staggered, and then maybe we could look at the other issue as well.
Councilmember Branch?
Question, if we go with, thing on? Oh, okay, if we go with the 4-year stagger on the ballot, will we have to identify which ones starting in 26 before it goes on the ballot, or would that be, or can that be determined after we know what the outcome is of the vote?
I believe that can be determined afterwards.
Okay.
Councilmember Patton, then Ford.
So a couple thoughts for the body. If we can bring some decisions out of this conversation, I think that would be really meaningful to the public. I have concerns about talking about this again at another work session with the exact same amount of information and without giving new direction to staff. Like, it feels a little like we're spinning our wheels. So I'd love if we could make some decisions. If we have consensus on some things, then provide direction, and then the next time we see it, it's a little bit moved forward. Which it seems like more districts is one that there's public support and support on the body for. So, I'd be ready to move that one forward. I can support 4-year staggered with a primary. And again, the primary, like you mentioned, the primary was not part of the survey questions. So I can support putting it on the ballot in November for implementation in 26. If we do one of the other options, if we put it on the ballot in March, then we've missed the opportunity for a primary. So we would be implementing 4-year terms with no primary, which I would not support. So those are a couple of my comments.
Councilmember Ford first.
Yeah, I would certainly be in support of adding a ballot referendum for this fall to deal with the 4-year staggered terms. I guess my other question is, I think during some of this conversation, we did have some information about what some of the other municipalities does as it relates to elections, and it may be helpful to give the public a refresher at some point in time during the work session or whenever we do it about how other municipalities are set up, because I think we're one of the largest cities that has elections every 2 years, but I think other municipalities in the state, their terms are already set for 4 years. And that may be some information that's helpful for the public to know how other municipalities that are similarly sized to us, how their elections are structured.
And Councilmember Ford, I actually have a sheet on kind of what the top municipalities do in North Carolina, if you all want to take a look at it. I think I have enough.
Okay, Councilmember Branch and then Harrison.
Quick question, because when we talk about primary, I want to be clear too that having a primary would not be during the normal March because we're considered nonpartisan. Wouldn't we have to have a nonpartisan primary?
So that's something that our office still needs to look into a little further if that's the
Okay.
decision that you all want to go with. Currently, Asheville has their primary in March. I don't think,
Okay.
I think it's something that can certainly be done.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Harrison.
Yeah, just 2 items for consideration. And yeah, thank you for passing the sheet out. I know Durham and it looks like Wilmington as well do have 2-year terms for the mayor and then 4 years for council members. So that is also something to consider. And then I do like this idea of a 4-year staggered term with primary. I guess I'm also thinking about with the district seats, if we were going to add district seats, which I do think there is some, evidence that this could be of support from the public. I'm curious, and I know this is a little bit of an odd conversation here, but maybe if Councilmember Fort and Melton could speak to it, but would there be any interest in switching at-large seats to district seats? Let's say that would then adding one additional district seat. So that would mean we would still have a body not so different in size. So that would be 9 in total, and everyone would be a district seat, and then there'd be one mayoral seat. I just put that out there.
I would be totally opposed to that.
Okay.
And that was discussed amongst the group. There was total opposition to that as well.
Are you talking
The
about
task force.
the study group?
Yeah, there's a reason why there's at-large members, and that is they are meant to cover the whole city in a whole city perspective, whereas with district members, you're representing your district, and you're an advocate for that district. If everybody is an advocate, then nobody's looking out for the best interest of the city, and you have to have that balance, and that's why the structure was created the way it was.
I mean, I understand that point. I do hope that all district members also think of themselves as advocating for all of the city. But I take your point. I just put it out there as an option as well.
I would definitely support adding a district seat, because I think the districts are large, and I think as we continue to grow, having an additional council member would be good representing districts. Councilmember Fort.
And I would say I'm probably uniquely situated to have served in a district and serve at large. So I've been in both roles and have experience in both. And I think sometimes it is a little challenging when you are a district member and you have to represent your district, but you do get phone calls and folks from other areas that want to talk to you about issues, and trying to be mindful of not stepping on somebody else's toes or taking over somebody else's responsibilities, which is different when you're at large and you have that different experience and folks sort of feel like they can talk to you. They may not agree with your position as a district member, but you're an at-large member, so it gives folks an option to have another voice at the table to talk to them. So there's just a different perspective. So.
Councilmember Melton.
I would add, when making these decisions, I think it's really important that we think beyond ourselves about who will be serving in these seats in the future. And so, I have served at large twice. And I do see a benefit to having at-large council members, not just because of the access it provided to me, but for others as well. But I also acknowledge that it's a lot harder to run at large. You have to raise a lot more money. You have to cover a lot more space. And I know that was why the study group ended up recommending adding district seats instead of at-large seats. Looking at this piece of paper we were just handed, though, there's 8 municipalities on here. Only 2 of them have only district seats. The other 6 have some combination of at-large and district. Durham has 6 council members, 3 are district, 3 at-large. They're 50-50. Obviously, we have, 6 council members, 5 council members and 2 at-large. So we're a little closer to less than 50-50, and some of these do that as well. So it does look like the majority of, our peer cities, based on this research, do have a combination of district and at-large seats. So my preference would be to keep at least the 2 at-large seats we have, and then look at adding some more district seats. I do think our council's too small based on our population. Just looking at this, Fayetteville has a larger council than we do, and we're obviously a lot bigger than Fayetteville. I think our districts are too big. It's too difficult for our district council members to cover all the space. And I also think that the way our districts are drawn now may not be aligned with how our city is growing. For example, downtown doesn't have any representation unique to itself. It's split between 2 districts. I think that becomes challenging. We have a ton of new residential under construction. I think the needs of downtown have become very unique. As an at-large member, I get criticized for being too focused on downtown. As an at-large member, I get criticized for not caring about downtown. I don't think both of those things can be true at the same time. And maybe one of the districts we look at is circling downtown, figuring out what that means, and providing a district there. And that also will carve some out of some of C and D certainly, and I think even B sort of encroaches a little on what we start to consider downtown, particularly when we look at our growth patterns. Brentwood and stuff. Maybe that moved. Either way, that's my thought. I think we should keep a combination of both, but I would certainly support adding district seats and looking at where we need to calibrate that representation.
Councilmember Patton.
Yeah, I like the idea of having two-year mayor, 4-year council members. I think that helps the public with the accountability piece that they are wanting to maintain, right? That if they're not satisfied with their service, then they can get some new representation. So I do like the idea of having the mayor stay at 2. So I'll add a check mark there. I've heard across the discussion some talk of adding a district versus districts, and I just wanted to kind of put a fine point on that. I think we can go up to 12 on the body, but if we like an odd number, we could add three seats, getting to 11, which I think an odd number makes good sense. So knowing that we're planning for a future 2030 having a population of 600,000, if we only add 1 district seat, we'll be in a future pretty soon where we still have 100,000 residents per district, which is what we've got now. So if we only add 1 district, we'll be having this conversation again really soon. So I would be in support of just, as long as we're going to redraw maps, let's draw what we need to draw. So I would be in support of adding three district seats. So I just wanted to kind of put a fine point on that clarification. I'd be in support of adding 3 district seats.
Councilmember Jones?
I would like to echo that sentiment. I think we need more districts rather than just one, so we're not reinventing the wheel every few years. I also want to highlight Councilor Harrison's comment. I also agree with switching over if possible. I totally hear your concerns from the people who are actually in at-large and have been in at-large. I just still think that it's a lot. It's a lot of things to do on the district side, and managing all of that. If we could lower the amount that the district councilors had to do with one person for so many people, that would be beneficial. So while I hear your concerns, I do disagree. I do think that it should be district instead of at large.
Any other comments? Okay, there's, again, I'm hearing some consensus, but not a lot. So we will have to have another discussion. Councilmember Melton?
I mean, maybe I heard this wrong, but I at least hear consensus on doing a ballot referendum for 2024
Yes.
for the
Four-year staggered.
four-year staggered. I would like to,
Yeah.
my preference would be to give staff that authority to start planning to bring us something in March that we can actually move forward. And we can continue this conversation about the districts at large. That's going to need time to implement anyway, but we got to let's take some action on something. And I would like to signal that we are ready to move forward with a ballot referendum to be on the 2024 November ballot.
Is that your motion?
I was
With
I was
primaries.
hoping that staff heard that. So when you bring it back, come back with a plan.
And I do
We're
think the issue of primary needs to be included in that ballot referendum, however they want to word it. So 4-year staggered with primary.
Or bring it back with two different
Yeah.
options, and we can get feedback and whatnot. But I think the primary thing would be beneficial. Councilmember?
Just to clarify, so 4-year staggered terms, are you saying for the entire council, including mayor? Because there was some discussion about whether the mayor should be 2 years.
I think what we would need is staff to bring us what the options are for the ballot referendum, and then we can have that conversation, because maybe it's 2 years for the mayor, 4 years for council, 4 years for everybody, primary. But I think we need to at least signal today that we want them to start working on it and bring us something that then we can vote to start the process for. I don't know, me personally, I would support 2 years for the mayor, 4 years for the council to sort of keep the mayors up every time. I think that's fine. I don't know if consensus is there. I don't know. I think staff can bring us options. But what I'd like to accomplish today is that we're doing something on the terms, and we'll get more info on that so we can move it forward.
Okay, great. I'll just emphasize that I think the 2-year mayor is where I would stand as well.
I would have to get some more information on that from my colleagues who actually run every 2 years and get some feedback, because the whole purpose in creating 4-year terms is better governance. So are you creating better governance by doing that, is the question. Or are you just continuing to politicize things? So I want to have a chance to get some feedback from them. But yeah, if you could, do you have clarity on what you're bringing back?
We're ready.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next, we have the report and recommendation of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. We have 4 items today, 3 that are on the agenda and 1 that was added. And I think you all have been provided a copy of that item, and we had some discussions late last week about it. And so the first of which is a professional services contract for Raleigh Convention Center expansion. We have Rodney Falk from Raleigh Convention and Performing Arts Complex here to present this item.
Thank you. Excuse me. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Rodney Falk, Raleigh Convention and Performing Arts Complex. I'm here today to present our architect recommendation for the expansion of the Convention Center and relocation of Red Hat Amphitheater. A quick recap of our project overview. The expansion will include 80,000 square feet of flex space and approximately 30 meeting rooms with requisite support space. This expansion will allow us to increase the number of events brought to Raleigh as well as attract larger events that we're unable to host in our current capacity. RCC expansion is where the currently Red Hat Amphitheater sits. In order to construct the expansion, Red Hat Amphitheater will need to relocate a block south. This will be a phased approach with Red Hat being constructed first, then the Raleigh Convention Center. This will allow us not to lose any amp seasons at Red Hat. And a reminder, our overall project budget is $387.5 million. As a reminder, this is funded from interlocal. The selection process, an RFQ was posted for solicitation in September of last year. Our 12-member selection committee consisted of city staff from various departments and external stakeholders. The committee reviewed submissions and invited a short list of firms for interviews. Interviews were held in November, and the selection committee made unanimous recommendation of Ratio and TVS as our architect. Ratio's Raleigh studio has completed over $1 billion of projects in Wake County and is highly regarded for their ability to handle complex public projects. MWBE participation for the design phase currently sits at over 18%. And then TVS has completed over 80 convention center and performance spaces projects to include Las Vegas Convention Center, Javits Center, and Music City Center in Nashville. In addition, they also designed the current Raleigh Convention Center that was opened in 2008. Staff is recommending that council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Ratio in the amount not to exceed $32,162,794 and authorize associated budget amendment in the amount of $8 million. And that is my presentation. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Hey, any questions? A lot of good work has gone into this. Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Along those same lines of progress and getting things done, the second item is being presented by Stephen Bentley with Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources. You will recall last year that we had several meetings about a potential economic development opportunity with Swing, which is a racket and padel and pickleball facility that's going to happen here in the city. You know I'm saying this in the affirmative. It is going to happen here in the city. So Stephen is here to present that item.
Thank you. That's half the presentation. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. I'm Stephen Bentley with Raleigh Parks, but I also have our partners here. Rob Autry, the CEO of Swing, is in the audience, as well as Jason DeGroff, who is managing partner. They've been great partners. They have bold ambitions to have a highly impactful and inclusive project for the city, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about it with you today. This project has been in the works for about 7 years. The initial lease was executed in 2018. The pandemic did have a pretty significant impact, so the council executed an amendment to the lease to extend their time frame for construction. And then in 2022, Rob and Jason brought an even bolder plan that allowed for more public access. So we restated and amended their lease to include those different amenities. And as Madam Manager mentioned, that the council in November last year identified $10 million to support the Swing project. So this is just a snapshot. I won't hesitate to say this will be an international destination for Raleigh. I'm a Parks and Recreation nerd. None of my peers in the United States have the opportunity to partner on such an incredible project that will allow people to come enjoy public amenities, and a lot of which will be for free. Indoor and outdoor courts, there is clay courts, padel, which Marshall talked about, which is one of the fastest growing sports in the world, and of course pickleball. But there'll also be partnerships with the corporate sector, which Wilson has announced that they will be moving some of their corporate headquarters to this location. So all around, it'll be something that, like Raleigh has never seen before. Economic impacts from job generation to hospitality tax. I should have put international destination instead of national destination. Tournaments and special events. And of course, public benefits. There is an annual rent payment to the city starting at $275,000 with an increase of 3% through the life of the lease. There will be free walking trails, restrooms, play areas, and events. Now that we have are going to contribute to the project, we have met with Rob and Jason and had really good discussions about our value systems, and we came to the consensus this is a great opportunity to look at how do we make even further impacts to our youth. So they've agreed to increase scholarships to one of the best training programs in the world, which will be coming here from Europe. So some of our youth from the Raleigh Parks Department will be able to experience high world-class quality training at this location, free from swing. They're also going to increase employment opportunities with youth. And what we talked about is not just having maintenance and operations, although those are good opportunities, but how can they focus on STEM since they're going to have Wilson R&D out there, the culinary arts since there's a restaurant. So I really loved the conversations with Swing, our values aligned. And then they've come forward and said, we'd like to make an annual donation to the Raleigh Youth Council. So they've also said that they are going to have free events on site, so all of us can come and join. And as we've gone forward, we have worked through with them on small little amenities that were in the original amendment. They were not free to begin with, but are now free. So all around more public benefits. So the next steps is for staff to work on 2 agreements, a lease agreement and a financial assistance agreement. We would look from you today to set the public hearing for February 20th. After that public hearing, council will have the opportunity to vote on this lease amendment and assistance agreement. So that is our recommendation today to you, is to authorize staff to finalize this lease amendment and financial assistance documentation and set the public hearing for February 20th. And I can take your questions. And Rob and Jason are here if there's any specific ones.
This is great news, and I love how the partnership has come together over the years. This will be a great opportunity for our kids. So good work, everybody. Councilmember Black?
Hi. I don't know what pickleball is, so I was Googling it while you were talking, and it's like this new sport that's taking the U.S. by storm, so it's kind of cool that we're leading on bringing this sort of engagement to our community. I was curious where this facility is.
Great question. So this is out in the Briar Creek area in northwest Raleigh. There's a parcel that was going to be an operational location. So we deemed the highest and best opportunity is to partner and provide these free public amenities. So it's in northwest Raleigh.
Because I know Briar Creek is a parks desert.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Thank you.
Councilmember Harrison, and then Pat.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen, for the presentation. I am really excited about this. I love playing tennis, so someday I'll get out there. I'm just curious, especially about courts, what will be the opportunity for the public to use them, the cost, how will that compare to other, tennis or pickleball facilities we currently have?
Yep. So in our courts, if you don't know it, it is pay to play on our courts, and it will be pay to play at their courts. They'll be market-based. Ours are market-based. The beauty of their site is that you can go and experience the site on the walking trails and play areas and so forth and not have to pay anything. So it's almost similar to if you would grow Millbrook Exchange Park and Tennis Center, you can go up there and walk around. But if you want to reserve a court, you pay to play. And their model would be similar.
And can you tell me, when you say market-based, sometimes I think about like a country club,
Sure. Yeah.
versus,
Yep.
what kind of market kind of costs are we expecting?
I don't have the answer to that question, but we can certainly follow up. When I sit back down, I can share with you, or we can send in some of the hourly costs and daily rates.
Yeah, I think that's just what I would want to emphasize is as we make any commitments here that we're really thoughtful about accessibility and the cost and making sure that the public can really enjoy this facility compared to our other courts out there. So thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Patton?
Yeah, hi. 2 from me. One, I hope no pickleball enthusiasts will throw things at me, but I have a little bit of a concern it might be a fad that might end at some point. And have we thought about what might happen? Like how easy will these be to convert to whatever new paddle and
Sure.
racket sport takes its place in
that's often discussed. No. I think a lot of people are learning about pickleball now, but it's been around for 2 decades. It has become more. It used to be deemed like the old people sport. Now it's just the opposite. It is generational. So I'm confident it's not going to be. But courts are courts. So if there is the next, padel is going to be the new pickleball. So flat spaces, universally, you can transform them into other uses.
Yeah, we can always play tennis too.
Yeah. And my second is more of a comment. I just wanted to thank you all for your continued engagement on getting the most public benefits possible. You know, I know in iterations of when we've seen this, it's been the outdoor amenity was what was the public benefit, and to see these more active, active public benefits and the investment in our youth and investment in multi-generational commitments to our children. I'm super excited about that. So thanks for your continued work there.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion to move forward with staff's recommendations. Motion to move forward with staff recommendations.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank
That
you.
was unanimous. Thank you. And Rob, thank you for all your work. I know this is a big dream and vision, and we've had many discussions over many years about this. So here we are. I'm really excited for you. Okay, thank you. And our city. Okay.
So we're going to be flexible and we're going to pivot, because the third item, we are waiting for the representative, the tax administrator from Wake County, to come to talk to us about the 24 reval and the results of that. So before we switch to the next session on the agenda, we're going to do the fourth item that was added. You will recall last week we were made aware of some changes in the manner in which some retirement benefits were being calculated. And today we're going to provide you with an update and some ways in which we think that we're going to be able to meet the needs of our employees. So with that, I will turn it over to CFO Allison Bradshaw. She will be joined by Dottie Kibler from the City Attorney's Office.
Yeah, so good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Allison Bradshaw from the Finance Department. What is being passed around at the table is a resolution that would allow for the retro-action designation of additional sick leave. This resolution is the city's initial step to address the immediate needs of our colleagues who are in the process of retiring. Our top priority is helping colleagues who are retiring in January, February, and March. However, I do not want to minimize the impact to our colleagues who have not yet announced plans for retirement. The resolution would allow an administrative policy within the Finance Department that ultimately would allow for current and prior employees to select the use of additional sick instead of regular sick leave. The procedure to implement this policy has not yet been developed. We are aware that the Retirement Services Division in December of 2023 provided a memo that addressed the calculation of how local governments should account for additional sick leave accruals when submitting an employee's retirement application. The city has had an adopted policy that allows employees at years 8, 15, and 25 to accrue additional sick leave. Previously, each day of additional sick leave that was not used counted as credible service as an employee retires. The December 2023 memo from the Retirement Services Division reduces the unused sick leave that can count towards retirement to no more than 1 day per month, based on how the calculation of those days is accrued. So by allowing employees to use up their additional sick days, which provide little value at retirement, employees save their regular sick days that count day to day towards retirement. We appreciate the staff from the Retirement Services Division who met with us last week, and we acknowledge that a policy is needed to be in place to allow this election by city's current and prior employees, and the resolution in front of you would allow for this administrative policy. We will continue to work in a positive way with the State Retirement Service Division to ensure the policy has the effect that we intend. And I want my colleagues across the organization to know that more instructions about retroactive designations will be coming, and I understand that there are many questions that have not been addressed. So with that, I will stay for questions, and I will turn it over to Dottie Kibler from the City Attorney's Office.
This is probably the shortest resolution you have seen from me. It's very simple, and it simply authorizes the city manager to take a step that will provide a benefit not only to our current employees, but also to those folks who have already submitted retirement applications. Timing is short so that we can help all of those retirees, and so we'd simply ask that you enact the resolution as written and grant the authority as requested to the city manager. I'm certainly available for any legal questions, and Ms. Bradshaw is here for operational questions.
I want to thank you for working through the weekend to get this done, and I would make a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Councilmember Fort, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you for treating this with urgency and getting it done. Appreciate it.
Awesome, thank you. And so at this point, we will hold on item 3, and as soon as Mr. Kimray gets here, we will bring that item back up. He is presenting to the Wake County Commission right now, and so he will run across as soon as he gets done.
Okay. Next, we have the report and recommendation of the Historic Resources and Museums Advisory Board.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'm Troy Burton. I'm the administrator of the Historic Resources and Museum Program, and with me today is Audrey Morgan, current chair of our board.
Good afternoon. I am Audrey Morgan, chair of the Historic Resources and Museum Advisory Board, and I appreciate being able to give you a brief update of our work since City Council created our board on September 2012. We want to thank the mayor and council for your support and interest in our work. Your attendance at our events and your willingness to help is most appreciated. The past year, we had a good year. The past year had many highlights, but these are the most important. One, the continued popularity of the Historic Resources and Museum program sites, events, and programs despite the impact of COVID closures and cancellations. Our site grounds never closed and remain wildly popular as an outdoor outlet. Also, we were able to gradually resume programs following the state protocol phasing guidelines throughout the summer and fall. As a result, this past year, we served more than 700,000 visitors, reflecting a 132% increase from the previous year. We had a good year. The PRCR department and HRM program created an interpretive plan for Raleigh University Historic Park and currently developing the park with a scheduled opening later this spring, scheduled for Saturday, April 20, 2024. Number 3, the HRM program once again produced a successful holiday express at Pullen Park to rave reviews. The event ran an all-time high of 18 event nights and again sold out quickly with over 38,000 ticketed guests. We look forward to bringing the Holiday Express to the public next year. And we successfully published another 4,000 objects from the HRM program collection online for the public, bringing the total online HRM program object database to almost 30,000 objects. Number 5, an increased focus on the Dr. M.T. Pope House Museum including adding an additional open day to the public. The Pope House Museum is now open every Saturday and Sunday for tours and programs. Planned improvements include landscape updates identified in the historic landscape plan, as well as building repairs and improvements as resources allow. The Pope House Museum hosted a new exhibit from the Pope House family entitled A Family Story, Images from the Pope House Museum. The HRM program took over management of the John P. Top Green Community Center, identified as the future John P. Top Green Cultural Center, and trailheaded the South Park Heritage Walk. This past year, the community and staff worked collaboratively to curate a new exhibit at the center, Centuries in the Making, a cultural legacy of South Park and East Raleigh neighborhoods. A 3-year exhibit to be located at the John P. Top Green Community Center, serving as an interpretive bridge until conclusion of the bond program. Additionally, the HRM program opened the center to the public 2 days a week with plans to increase public hours as resources allow. There are several issues we continue to view as horizontal for the HRM program. The PRCR department and the City of Raleigh reflected in our work plans. 1, we hope the city will continue to consider a standalone visitor center that will support tourism by promoting all the other wonderful things there are to see and do in Raleigh. Because our city has grown so fast, a standalone visitor center would serve residents and visitors alike. Number 2, we hope to continue work toward a resolution of private ownership of our artifact collections. The City of Raleigh does not own the majority of the historic objects in our collection, and this complicates decisions about interpretation, conservation, and stewardship. Number 3, we hope to continue to work towards identifying a permanent home for the City of Raleigh Museum. Currently, the museum sublets a space in the Briggs Building on Fayetteville Street, whose lease expires in 2027. 4, we hope to continue to play a role in the development of the Dix property. Both the property and the buildings at Dix are rich in history, and we believe we can be a constructive voice in the process. Finally, the HRM program continues to be part of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources Department. We have enjoyed great support from this department over the years and hope that we will continue to be included in future PRCR projects and initiatives. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Thank you.
Councilmember Patton?
Hi. Thanks for being here. Really quickly, did want to plug, love Holiday Express. Also really love the like post-COVID approach to like expanding the footprint. It's much more comfortable. So really love that. That's just a comment. I did want to ask about your comments on finding a permanent home for the City of Raleigh Museum, and wondering like if you have had any discussions about where that might be. I mean, I love having it in the Briggs Building, but if I'm not sure what the like longevity of that is, or if you can speak to what the vision is for like a mythical permanent home might be.
Well, as stated, the lease expires in 2027. In our meetings, we have been in discussion about whether we're going to stay leased or trying to find a new location. As of yet, we have not nailed down any locations yet, but it is open to further discussion by the board.
And I would imagine, too, that when we get the report back from the economic development study, you might be hearing more on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all being here, and keep bringing back those good ideas. We appreciate it. Okay. Oh, yeah, we need a vote on the work plan, so we have.
Move for approval.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Good work. Thank you. All right, next we're going to move to matter scheduled for public hearing. The first one is the business incentive grant.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Kyle Touchstone, Director, Raleigh Economic Development. Appreciate the opportunity to present this project to you today that we are presenting for a business investment grant, Audemars Piguet. This competitive project has selected Raleigh Ironworks as its North American Service Center location. We are recommending a business investment grant of $337,000 over 7 years. This is an office project with an investment of just over $22 million in real estate and equipment. Would create 105 permanent full-time jobs with an annual average wage of $92,376. Wake County has offered an incentive, and there are also workforce training support dollars that have been provided to this project. This project qualifies under the new and expanding economic development projects in a priority area for economic development. And today we have, excuse me, we have reps from the company, Charlene Topiel, who is legal counsel for Audemars Piguet, and then also Seth Martindale, who is the Senior Managing Director for the Americas Consulting Location Incentives Division of CBRE. The recommended action is, following the hearing, make a determination that the incentive will increase the taxable property, employment, and business prospects of the city, and authorize finalization and execution of an incentive agreement by appropriate city officials. So I don't know if you have any questions or comments for the company reps, but they are here if you would like that.
Is one of them Paul Ehrlich?
No.
No. Because that's the only person I have signed up to speak in favor. So no one has signed up in opposition, so I'm going to open the hearing. Is Paul Ehrlich here? E-H-R-L-I-C-H. Okay, then I'm going to close the hearing. Councilmember Patton?
Yeah, sorry, just some questions. Hello.
Hi.
Where's the location of the project?
It is located on Atlantic Avenue in the Raleigh Ironworks redevelopment site.
Got it. Okay, thank you. And then might not be a question for you, although I know I've asked you in the past, might be a question for our staff. I know on our business incentive grant, it measures the compliance with an average of incomes, but doesn't have like a floor. And I believe the companion grant at the Wake County Commission did just recently put in a requirement for a minimum wage. I wonder if that's possible and what would be needed to uplift something like that if that were the will of the council.
So Wake County did implement that policy in their procedure. I think that would be a separate policy decision that would have to be made by this council. The offer that was extended was based on the existing policy, so I think
sure,
that
I'm
would
not
have to go to.
suggesting we alter this one.
And I do believe that based on the project information that was provided, that they do meet that living wage and above. So happy to check back into that for you.
Yes. I think that's a conversation that we'll have to have if we're looking at doing some kind of policy changes, moving forward. And we talked about a little bit about that in some past discussions around incentives and what that's going to look like in the future. So that would be prime opportunity to bring that up. But we felt really good about this one because when you look at the average wage that is going to be paid to their employees, and it is a specialized service, the only question I really have today is, did y'all bring samples? Did anybody bring samples? We want to see what these watches look like. because we're all like questioning what kind of watch is this. But no, in all seriousness, with the level of wages that are being paid to their employees, we feel really good. But that is part of our ongoing economic development internal conversation about policy around incentives.
And I will just add that this project is utilizing about 64,000 square feet of Class A office space, and that's a significant win. It's the largest new project to market in Raleigh announced this year. So,
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Fort?
Has Wake County finalized their incentive package?
they're doing that next.
Okay.
As soon as they leave here, they're heading over to Wake County. And I think Reval's coming here. They're finishing up there, so.
Okay, the hearing has been open and closed. Is there a motion to approve?
I move for approval. Welcome to District C.
Seconded by Councilmember Fort. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Thank you all.
Welcome to Raleigh.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bring
We're
samples
really
next
excited to
time.
have you.
Yes. They're like, we're not bringing any samples, woman. You know how much that's.
Yeah, yeah, no samples, but okay. Thank you. Thanks for the hard work on this too, Kyle and crew. A lot went into this, and we're really excited to have you in Raleigh. So, welcome. All right, our next is a petition annexation, AX 2923. No one has signed up in support or opposition.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Christopher Golden with Planning and Development. So this is the first of several annexations that you have before you today. This one's in the 3600 block exactly of Creekside Drive. It's a mobile home park. It's got some pre-existing homes on it, 67 manufactured homes. So the site is already served by sewer at this time, and they are looking to hook up to water. That water is available just adjacent to the site in Forestville Road. So this is a lot as well that falls outside of as some service considerations, just being outside of the standard full initial fire response zone. If it is annexed today, it's 32 acres that would come into Council District B. And if you have any questions on that, more than happy to answer them today.
Councilmember Patton?
Yes, hi.
Hello.
So in this region, this is like right across the street from my house, and in this region, we have been utilizing the practice of having delayed effective dates, but those have been on undeveloped sites, and this one is obviously occupied by residents. If I've understood it, you can phone a friend to Raleigh Water if needed, but in the situations where it's undeveloped, they are usually that annexation is becoming effective. They're switching to their inside water and sewer rates prior to any residents being present on the property, which is different scenario. So in this scenario, if we were to delay the effective date, they would be allowed to tap water or I guess they're just looking for water. They would be allowed to tap the water at the double rates until their effective date. And then like who would have to call Raleigh Water and switch? Is it the individual tenant of the mobile home, or is it the landlord of the full parcel?
Sure, great question. I can answer some of that if we have some more, more focused and detailed questions that I'm sorry, not public utilities, but Raleigh Water can answer those, but I think I can answer this. So it is best practice that when a property does come into city limits, that either the property owner or the tenants notify Raleigh Water to let them know about that, or I should say, to let them know to switch those rates from outside, which is double the standard rate, to inside rates. So it's something that happens. Raleigh Water does do routine reviews to make sure that people are being billed correctly. But that happens whether it's a delayed annexation date or effective today, essentially, right? On this particular property, I will say, now, this is a little different, clearly, because they're already receiving sewer service, and they also have 67 pre-existing units on the property. So in this case, these properties are sub-metered, and so that's being monitored, and the owner of the property is actually doing one payment right now for sewer to the city at the end of the month, and their plan is to have that continue for water service once that's connected. So it would be the responsibility of the property owner as soon as that is the effective date hits. So if you all decide to vote on that today and bring that into city limits, that that would be effective immediately, that they would go ahead and have in-city rates, essentially. Does that answer your question?
Wait, sorry. Let me say it back
Sure.
to you. So because they already have sewer, they would get inside rates no matter what?
No, it's right now, if they connect to water and it's a delayed effective date, they would pay outside rates, roughly double of what the standard rates are, until they come into the city. So with the particular billing arrangement on his property, the property owner would notify the city to go ahead and make that switch once that effective date takes place, whether that's today, or that's 6 months out, or that's a year from now.
Got it. Okay. Helpful. Did you have a question,
Councilmember
Branch?
Yeah, I just have one. I'm not sure what the motion will be, but I would say I have one concern of delaying it for these manufactured homes because, typically these are your low-income, affordable housing. I'm here looking at the map, and to have them pay double rate on top of that, are we really? To me, that's counterintuitive to wanting to help those that have to pay double rate. So I just wanted to highlight that that would be my concern of delaying the annexation date.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I take your point. It's a challenging onion to unwrap, these service efficiency constraints. But I appreciate your response. And
Sure.
Unless there's other questions from my colleagues, I'll motion to approve.
I have to open the hearing first and close it.
Oh.
No one has signed up in support or opposition. I will open the hearing and close the hearing. You can make a motion.
All right. I'll make a motion to adopt the annexation with an immediate effective date. That's all I have to say, right? No fancy language.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, clerk, that was unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have petition annexation AX 3123, Leesville Road.
Thank you. Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. So this is contiguous inside the ETJ. It's in the 10,900 block of Leesville Road, 2 total parcels at 17.4 acres. There's an approved townhome site. There's an approved townhome plan for the site. Currently, there's one single-family home on the site. Developer plans to build 100 townhomes on the site. There's water and sewer available to the property. Falls Lake Watershed is adjacent to that property, zoned RX 3 CU, conditional use. So like I said, they want to connect to water and sewer, so that's why they're submitting this petition. And there's no service concerns on this particular property. Any questions that you have, certainly available to answer them. So.
Councilmember Jones?
Thank you so much. Sure. No questions. I did speak to the applicant here. I just want to highlight some things. This was a rezoning case that happened before our time. So this was back in, I think, 22. We talked about the Falls watershed because there's like 0.06 part of this property that isn't. It's a very tiny bit, but they did assure me that all of that had been included, that there is not going to be any development in any portion of that 0.06 acres that are on there. This is a really desperate area in need of affordability, but there's nothing that I can do on that front. But I just want to highlight that as we grow and we build, we have a lot of teachers in this area. There's schools. Sycamore Creek is right there, and we want to be able to provide housing that they can afford. Well, there's nothing I can do with that. I just wanted to make sure that was highlighted. This is just for them to connect to water and sewer, and for us to benefit from the tax base from that. So I've just like to emphasize in the future that we make sure we're doing that and making this a better place for all of our Raleigh residents. But with that, you have to open the hearing. So I will make a motion after that.
All right. I have one person who signed up to speak, Ashley Trazas. You're good? Okay, I'll open the hearing, close the hearing.
I would like to make a motion to approve the annexation effective, I guess I have 3 options, but January 16th, 2024.
Okay, do we have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Patton. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have petition annexation AX 3323 Railroad Assemblage.
Thank you. So this is pretty straightforward, too. It's contiguous to city limits. It's inside the ETJ. It's over on Ray Road. Current zoning's R4. It's a little over 2.5 acres. So the property owner is proposing to put 6 detached single-family homes on this property. So there's water available in Ray Road. Currently, the property is vacant. There's sewer available on site currently. And if they are annexed today, there's no service concerns on this property. If they're annexed today, it'd be brought into the boundaries of Council District A. And any questions you have, I'm here to answer them. So.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Again, no one has signed up in support or opposition. So I will open the hearing, close the hearing. Do we have a motion?
I got it. Okay. Motion to approve annexation with the proposed effective dates of January 16th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, annexation 3423 Tryon Road.
Right, thanks. So this is the last annexation we have on the agenda today. So 3100 block of Tryon Road, just right at the edge of our city limits, 1.54 acres. So this is inside the ETJ. It is contiguous with our limits, our city limits. Property owner wants to, this property actually has, it's already connected. It has service, it has water and sewer on this property. So this annexation is following after the fact. We made some policy changes to make sure that this proceeds, any service connections. It's got 10 units total on it, apartments, Tryon Flats. Current zoning on that is OX3, conditional use with a special parking overlay district. And if it's annexed today, it will be brought into the boundaries of Council District D. And if you have any questions, here to answer those for you as well.
Okay. Again, like I said, no one has signed up in support or opposition. Do we have any questions? Okay, I am going to open the hearing, close the hearing. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the annexation on the property with effective date January 16th, 2024.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have rezoning Z8421 on Millbrook Road. You may recall we kept this item open and we asked if a representative from the development team could attend. Seth Wolfman had signed up to speak. Unfortunately, his flight was canceled and he cannot be here today. So we have the option of continuing this with the hope that he'll be able to make it next time.
Yes, that is correct. Sarah Shaughnessy, Planning and Development. He has requested a deferral until your next meeting, if the council approves that.
Okay. Yes.
So
To the next meeting, that would be February
6th, I believe.
6th. Daytime or evening?
Daytime seems fine.
I think either option is okay with the applicant.
It's a general use, so I don't
We had a lot of questions, though, that couldn't be answered. So I'm just wondering, how many meetings do we have that evening?
I believe you have 5 items scheduled for public hearing already, as far as rezoning cases are concerned.
Okay, then let's put it in the evening session. Councilmember Fort has made that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I just
Anyone
ask a quick question? Sorry.
Hold on, anyone opposed? Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. Councilmember Patton.
Hi. I know we're deferring this and the applicant will need to come, but I think in the narrative of the staff report, it mentions that they only want to add 4 additional units, but need the rezoning to allow for that. But I was curious if voluntarily offered by the applicant, is there any type of condition that could be accepted that would make that like legislatively true rather than just
hopeful?
Sure. If the applicant would like, he could offer a zoning condition limiting the entitlement to, I believe currently 144 units are entitled. So, 4 additional units, we could work with the applicant to figure out what that cap is. Again, that's a voluntary zoning condition, so you'd have to ask him.
That was something that I was curious about because I have been unable to catch up with this applicant. So now he's able to come. Okay, so we're gonna have a lot of conversation that particular day because I've been reaching out and he haven't been able to catch up with Mr. Seth.
Have you called him?
I had my policy analyst reach out. I didn't get a response, so it's just interesting seeing that now. So,
Well, we had asked if he would come. That was the request at the last meeting, and he is supposed to be coming, but I would strongly recommend that you call. I mean, his company is listed on the website. You could reach out.
well, when I reached out, nobody got back to me. So hopefully they'll see this and reach back out to me.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, next we have rezoning Z2223 on Trailwood Drive. And we do have people here in support and opposition. This was continued from our last meeting.
Yes, thank you. Brown and Reedus, Planning and Development. So this was continued from your last meeting in December. The applicant has proposed some new conditions. Signed conditions were provided on Friday, responding to staff comments. So they're going to look a little bit different than is in the backup materials, but that's provided verbatim on these slides. So just a reminder, these are conditions that you saw before: development intensity not to exceed 40 units, constructing a greenway connection to the existing greenway along the northern property line, a minimum of 6 acres remaining undisturbed, a minimum of 40-foot building setback measured from the property line shared with the neighbors to the adjacent south, and then providing some landscaping within that 40-foot wide setback. Committing to at least 50% of stormwater runoff being treated using green stormwater infrastructure. And then here is a look at those new conditions that have been added since you last saw the case. So number 7, in the event that fill is permitted within the existing floodplain, any vehicular surface in such area will utilize permeable pavement. Number 8, prohibiting the apartment building type. Dwelling units located within any other building type shall be vertically separated by a party wall. No dwelling units shall be stacked. Number 9, any occupiable rooftop space on the unit situated immediately adjacent to the northern property line of 1116 Trailwood Drive shall contain screening so that such rooftop space does not have sight lines to the property to the south. And then number 10, resident parking shall be limited to the footprint of the individual units, except for visitor parking, which shall be limited to no more than 7 spaces. So I'm happy to answer any questions about those 4 new conditions before you open up the public hearing.
Okay. Any questions on the new conditions? Okay. This had been continued from the last time, and I think the conditions speak for themselves, so I am going to close the hearing. Do we have a motion? But we already done our mandatory 8 minutes per person. You have to have equal time. That comes from the last time. And we continued the hearing so new conditions could be added. They have been added.
Just out of deference to folks that are here, if we do add time, it just needs to be the same on both, correct?
Yes.
And I believe there is just one speaker for opposition, and how many in favor? I think they're the applicant team.
It's the applicant team.
Yeah.
So I would, if there's a request to do additional time, I would do 2 minutes per side.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to acknowledge and honor folks who are here. So let's do that.
2 minutes per side. We will start with the applicant team. Do we have a spokesperson?
Good afternoon, Mac Paul here on behalf of Anuj and Vanita Mittal. If it's the will of the council, I'll hold my time for questions and to respond to any comments that the other folks have.
Be great. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. And then Madison Beard.
I wasn't expecting 2 minutes, so let's
Please
see.
go back to the 2 minutes. Okay, please go.
Okay. So last we spoke, we talked about the history of the property, the fact that it was unanimously denied for rezoning the last time, and our concerns with risks of property flipping and overdevelopment. Our main concern is our ask for a substantial undisturbed buffer between the south property line and where this development and the grading is supposed to start. The majority of the trees that the applicants are proposing to save along our property line are white oaks. The white oak tree root system is 1 to 2 times as wide as the tree is tall. Typical white oak trees are anywhere from 60 to 80 feet tall, and they can grow up to 100 feet tall. I've prepared some pictures from the Greenway section of Avett Ferry and Trailwood. So this is by the Arden, and some of the destruction of all of the hardwoods between Avett Ferry and our Greenway system. This is due to the sediment and the overdevelopment of the property across the street. You can see here that it's turning our greenways into swampways. This is the 1000 Trailwood Drive and pictures of the storm last week on Tuesday, really before it started, and Wednesday after it finished. As you can see, the health of these trees are relatively good, and they are managing the stormwater currently. But down by the Greenway on the same property, we are starting to see the impacts of mudding and overdevelopment.
I have a question for Ms. Beard.
Yes.
I remember this case from before. Are y'all still having issues as it relates to flooding at the bottom of Avett Ferry and Trailwood?
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, you could see it today, even with just sprinkles that we're having today.
Okay, any additional comments or questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to what you're bringing up, Madison. Thank you again for being here and for being so active and improving this case. I know your family has been at it, trying to make sure that whatever happens here is the best for, I think, obviously for the neighborhood, but also for the environment. And I just thank you for that. This is also, kind of my home territory. I, am here all the time. I'm on that Greenway all the time. So I do see it after storms. I do see what happens in that wetland, area. And so I do want to just acknowledge what this zoning case does. As is, this parcel can be developed. So we're not talking about a parcel that is never going to perhaps see development. And so what I'm looking for is that we're going to have an improvement from what is on the books here. So this particular property is going to have the 6 acres that is in the floodplain that will not be touched. I think that's incredibly important. We've talked through the additional acre of floodplain that is not protected. There is going to be permeable pavement used on any kind of, if there was to be some parking or a driveway there. We've also talked through green stormwater infrastructure. So if you look at the conditions that are there now, they have to actually treat 50% of the flow with green stormwater infrastructure, which is, at least since I've been on council, that is the the best I've seen. We've never had any case go that high, so I think it's a good precedent to set. I appreciate that they do have an additional buffer to your property to further protect the trees, because I think as is, it's 30 feet, and this case will bring it to 40 feet. So I think that's an improvement. Overall, oh, go ahead.
It's only about 20 feet currently until the grading begins and that retaining wall is going to be put in place. So 40 feet between our property line and the first building.
Okay.
So what we're asking for is another 25 feet. That's it.
I understand that desire. I will say by moving it additional 25 feet, then the development is moved towards the floodplain. I have talked to the developer's attorney about that, just to kind of think about what is the trade-off, right? We could protect more of the oak forest, and then we would move the development further into the floodplain, which is something I want to avoid. So that's kind of where I've had to draw the line for myself. So I just want to put it out there that I think the proposal is better overall than what is on the books currently. I appreciate the environmental pieces that they brought to the table. And again, because of your all's work on this case over time, it is so much better than it would have been. So I just want to thank you. I'm going to stop there and just see if my colleagues have any questions. And if not, I am prepared to make a motion.
Okay, Councilmember Jones.
I have a question more for city staff. We run into this a lot with hearings that are opened and then put on to the next time, and we're confusing. Is it possible to, when the sign up happens, to block off these cases from being signed up for if we're not going to allow them time? Because right now you have residents who think they have 8 minutes and then they come and they have none. And so I'm just trying, how do we more clearly communicate that to residents?
I'll take a stab at it, and maybe Ms. McDonald or Pat can kind of jump on. It has been the practice, and council stipulates how much time is given per case to both sides, right? And the 8-minute has been the routine. There have been situations in the past wherein, just like today, if a case came back and there were multiple people signed up to speak, the mayor has the ability to grant additional time. That's not the norm. And so if you all want to bring forward additional kind of protocols and practices, maybe that's one of those things that we can talk about when we talk about public comment at the retreat, not trying to pack on stuff, but that would probably be the closer agenda item that kind of aligns with adding additional time.
And Karen, city attorney, is there, do we have, we have specific language that controls that? Would it require changes in our procedures or policies?
Right now, your ordinance currently says that that time is determined at the discretion of the presiding officer, which, as the city manager just said, is the mayor. I think if that's something that the council wants to do, as the city manager suggested, perhaps that would be folded into your discussion about public comment as well. And certainly staff can be prepared to provide that information about what other people do. That's right in line with the information we've been gathering for public comment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more so just a clear, not to say it has to go one way or the other, but that our communication to residents, once we have that, clearly our resident here didn't understand that the 8 minutes had been used up. And so rather than have her prepare another 8 minutes, how do we better as a city communicate to her that that time frame is done, and whatever that mechanisms look like. We can definitely talk about it during the retreat, but we run into this again and again and again, so it's something that we need to fix.
Actually, we don't run into it that frequently, but I see in this case we did. So one thing might be to, when we continue it, have a set time. So it could be, okay, 2 minutes or 4 minutes, whatnot, added. But also, if there are questions, that falls outside that time limit. So,
Okay, we've seen it
Councilmember
enough to
Patton?
where I think it's a thing.
Yeah, since we're talking about it, can I just ask what is, when I have actually never signed up for a public hearing as a user. When they sign up, is there any indication on the sign up? I don't know if this is for you, Pat, but like that, is there any indication on the sign up that the hearing is open or closed, or like the sort of status of the hearing when they sign up?
I don't believe so. All I wanted to do was quickly add some clarification. The Unified Development Ordinance specifies the 8 minutes per side, and as has been said by the manager and the city attorney, it's discretionary to the presiding officer at the next meeting. So one option is to modify the UDO to specify or clarify any additional time. I don't believe there's any way that readily that without tracking back through previous agendas that a resident would be able to know.
Councilmember Melton?
Yeah, I think we're getting a little sidetracked from what I understood the request to be, which was if it's being continued and we're not going to add any time, is there a way to indicate on the sign up so folks aren't signing up expecting to have 1, 2, 3, or 8 minutes? And so maybe the solution to that, as the mayor suggested, is when we're continuing these cases, we are clear that the hearing is closed, the time has been extinguished, or that we're continuing it with an extra X amount of time for either side. But it does seem odd that if it is being continued and the clock has been extinguished, that these cases are still appearing on our public sign-up sheet because people are taking time to prepare information and come down here. And so I don't think we need UDO changes or code changes. I think we probably just need to be a little more clear when we're continuing cases and then make sure that that information gets to the clerk's office. And if a case is continued with no more time, that there's no sign-up available for that next meeting.
Can we have our clerk look at that? Is Lou here? Okay. Yes. All right, thank you.
Full circle. Thank you. Thank you, John.
Okay. You had said that you were ready to make a motion. I am going to close the hearing now. What, if you'd like to proceed?
Yeah, I do move to adopt the proposed consistency statement dated January 16th, 2024, contained in the agenda materials, and to approve the zoning amendment with the adoption and effective dates described in the agenda item under recommended action.
Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So motion passes 6-2 with Councilmember Jones and Fort in opposition. Thank you. Okay, next we have rezoning Z2623 Glenwood Avenue.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. Matthew Burns with Planning and Development. The public hearing for Z26 was opened on December 5th, 2023, and deferred to allow the applicant to amend the request. And the applicant provided revised sign conditions on January 12th, 2024, which address frontage and building facade as well as affordable housing. The signed version of the conditions is slightly different than the backup materials, which I'll explain shortly. The first three conditions remain unchanged from December 5th. They prohibit certain uses, provide for the dedication of a space for an 8-dock bike share station upon request of the city, by the city, and provide for one public art installation upon site plan review. The next two conditions are new since December 5th. The former would require that a minimum 80% of the site's Glenwood Avenue frontage be occupied by a building facade no more than 15 feet from the right-of-way boundary. And condition number 5, which is related to affordable housing, would require a fee of $400 per dwelling unit, but no less than $100,000 be placed in a fund designated for the city's affordable housing programs prior to issuance of the first certificate of occupancy for a new building on site. It formerly said a new residential unit on site. And let me know if you have any questions before you resume the public hearing.
Okay. Any questions for staff? Okay, we will resume the public hearing. We have new conditions, so does anybody have any questions on those new conditions? Okay, yeah. Councilmember Pat.
Hi, just want to make sure that the affordable housing contribution kicks in whether they build office, life science, and any other type of use, or is it only eligible? Is it only applicable if they build residential?
So my understanding was, after discussing it with the applicant, formerly it said residential unit for certificate of occupancy, and now it says new building. So for example, if a hotel were built on site, then this would apply. So it's not just residential units like apartments.
Okay. All right. If there are no further questions, I'm going to close the hearing. Do we have a motion?
I move to adopt the proposed consistency statement dated January 16th, 2024, contained in the agenda materials, and to approve the zoning amendment with the adoption and effective dates described in the agenda item under recommended action. This approval is also deemed an amendment to the future land use map to the extent described in the adopted consistency statement.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Councilmember Jones opposed. Remainder approved. Thank you. Next, we have rezoning Z3423.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. Matthew Burns with Planning and Development. The public hearing for Z34 was opened on January 2nd. The applicant provided revised sign conditions on January 12th, 2024, which extend the affordability period established in Condition 3 from 15 years to 18 years. The first two conditions remain unchanged from January 2nd. They provide for the dedication of space for an 8-dock bike share station upon request by the city, and the requirement of one public art installation upon site plan review. And condition number 3 has been modified from an affordability period of 15 years to 18 years, which is the only change. Please let me know if you have any questions before resuming the public hearing.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Again, new conditions, there's no questions on that. No one has signed up in opposition, so I'm going to close the hearing. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, and I just want to note on this case, this is the first contribution of on-site affordable housing in any of the downtown properties that I've seen in my district, and so I am excited. I know sometimes it feels like small potatoes that we're getting, but I think every potato counts, so I do want a motion to approve this. I move to adopt the proposed consistency statement dated January 16th, 2024, contained in the agenda materials, and to approve the zoning amendment with the adoption and effective dates described in the agenda item under recommended action.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Councilmember Jones opposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then finally, in public hearings, we have Z3723 Needham Road. Again,
Hi.
no one has signed up in opposition.
Bronwyn Rudis with Planning and Development. This is another returning case, returning from the December 5th meeting. It was deferred at that time to allow the applicant time to propose another condition. So there is one new condition today, which is captured on this screen. It's the underlined condition at the bottom, condition number 4 here. So the applicant has proposed a condition contributing $20,000 to the City of Raleigh Fire Department to help fund a new fire station or fire equipment to serve the area. I'm happy to answer any questions before you resume the public hearing or open the public hearing. I don't think it's been open yet.
Any questions for staff? Okay. Again, no one has signed up in opposition. I will open the public hearing. Worth Mills has signed up to speak in support. Oh, I thought it was, oh.
I'll just say that I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Okay. Just any questions? Okay. I was confused. I thought we were opening the hearing instead of resuming the hearing. So instead, I will close the hearing. And do we have a motion?
Yeah, I am happy to make a motion. I appreciate the way this applicant has approached the fire service sufficiency needs out in this area, and I'm happy to approve So I'll say, I move to adopt the proposed consistency statement dated January 16th, 2024, contained in the agenda materials, and to approve the zoning amendment with the adoption and effective dates described in the agenda under recommended action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that was unanimous. Thank you. I'm going to go back to the item we had on the agenda that we move forward on. He's not here yet. Okay, then we will continue. Let's see. The report and recommendation of the Economic Development Innovation Committee.
No report. We have one item pending, which is the Economic Development Roundtable with our HBCUs. I spoke with Assistant City Manager Evan Raleigh this morning. There were some action items from the last committee meeting, particularly, I think, getting some follow-up data from some, I guess, agencies. It's not quite enough information to have a committee meeting about, and I don't believe we can really resume the roundtable discussion until there are some updates with some leadership positions, I think, in one of our HBCUs. So my recommendation after speaking to Mr. Raleigh would be for them to include that follow-up data in a manager's update, and that we hold this item in committee until we can schedule another robust discussion with our roundtable. So if there's no objections, Mr. Raleigh would just include that follow-up data in a manager's update, and we'll hold this in committee.
Okay, thank you. Growth and Natural Resources.
Yeah, no updates, but we do have two items pending. Comprehensive plan amendment related to downtown transition areas and the rezoning of 0 Gorman Street. Those will both be discussed next week, Tuesday, January 23rd at 4 o'clock.
Okay. All right, Safe, Vibrant, Healthy Community Committee. We are meeting next Tuesday, 11:30, as announced at the last meeting. Transportation and Transit.
We have 2 items that are pending. We will be meeting on the 25th here in the chamber at 3 o'clock to cover our 2 items, the New Bern Avenue Corridor Community Supportive Projects and Programs Update and the Bicycle and Mobility Plan Update.
Okay, thank you. All right, next we have report of the mayor and city council. Let's see, I was going to start with Councilmember Melton, but Councilmember Patton.
Yeah, not much for me. Just want to announce that I'm having my second town hall February 22nd at Marsh Creek Community Center from 6 to 8. More details forthcoming on which departments will be represented and the format, but wanted people to be able to mark their calendars.
Thank you. Councilmember Black.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge that today is National Day of Racial Healing. It's the day that comes after Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and it's a day to have hard conversations about race and mental health. We are having a event by the Human Relations Commission tonight, this evening at 6 p.m. It's going to be at the Chavis Park. There's going to be live art and really great things. I'm going to see if I can make it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to make it with everything we have going on during today. But if you are watching, go check it out and be sure to have some hard conversations around race. I would also like to thank everyone who attended my Around the District with Counselor Black event over the weekend at Shelley Lake. It went really well, and people really liked being able to upend the traditional political models of being in stuffy rooms, having stuffy conversations, and be able to get out onto the trail. They liked so much, in fact, that I'm planning another one for February 24th at Lake Lynn this time. So another Around the District with me, but at Lake Lynn. So join me for that. I'll have some more details about that. I'd also like to announce that we're having a District A meeting tentatively planned for Millbrook, tentatively planned at Millbrook Exchange Park, but it will be on February 3rd between 12:30 to 1:30. So be sure to check in with my socials, and that is all for me.
Councilmember Branch.
Yes, I have 3 things real quick. One thing I want to mention, we had the conversation earlier about time and the additional time. I just want us to be careful on selecting that in advance of people signing up, because depending on the particular case, we could trap ourselves. We've had cases that we've continued, and at the next meeting, we had 20 and 30 people per side, and we did add additional time and things of that nature. So something I wanted to mention for us to consider. Our district, there will be a District C meeting this coming Saturday at 10 a.m. at the usual location, 1214 East Lenore Street, Raleigh, North Carolina, right off at where Rock Quarry Road and Lenore Street meet. Also, NCDOT is in the process of recognizing Coach George Williams. Coach George Williams was a world-renowned track coach from St. Augustine's University, and actually in 2004, the city of Raleigh did a proclamation recognizing Coach Williams. I would like to offer a letter of support and also at the next council meeting, put up for a vote for support as well, their resolution towards naming the interchange at New Bern Avenue and I-440, the Coach George Williams interchange. Again, they're looking for city support. This is a state-controlled intersection, interchange, and I wanted to mention that here with more information. I did receive the letter from Senator Blue. I've sent it to our city manager and the mayor. If we can just have that prepared, let me know what other additional information may be needed, and we'll bring forth at our February 6th meeting. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Jones?
Just a few quick things. My next community meeting will be February, but instead of Wednesday, it's going to be Thursday so that everyone can celebrate Valentine's Day and have fun. So it'll be Thursday, February 15th. The location has not been decided yet, so just keep an eye out. I will make a mention at our next meeting, the location. The second thing is, in the last meeting, we did approve contingency funds for a DBT training for residents, and that's dialectical-based therapy. And that's going to be free of charge for 200 residents. That will be on March 7th, Thursday, March 7th, and Tuesday, April 23rd. They are full-day events from 8:30 to 4 p.m. at Marsh Creek Community Center. Registration is open, and I'd be really excited for it to fill up. We'd love to gather this data so that we can continue providing these services. So I did want to ask a question to city staff. Is it possible to, since it is at a city center, to amplify that and make that a message from the city so that we can make sure residents have the ability to register?
We will work with Parks and Recreation staff to be able to see what we can do in the way of communication. Since it's not a city-sponsored event, we can't get out there in front and kind of lead with it, but there may be a way that we can kind of elevate it to some extent.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Thank you so much. Just check my socials. I'll make sure that the link is there in case you would like to register. And lastly, just about the public or the public hearing note, I appreciate Mayor Pro Tem Melton's amplification. What I was requesting is just clear communication. So in no way was I saying that we should change anything. I just think we can do a better job of telling people. That's all. All right, thank you.
Councilmember Fort?
I had opportunity yesterday to attend the noonday observance for the Martin Luther King program, and we had I think in the last meeting, approved some funding for for the organization. And I know there's some questions about it from some of the members of council, but I did want to say that we got effusive praise from the MLK choir, members of the committee, community folks who were very, very happy to be back in Mamandi Hall, very, very happy to be back presenting that particular program. So I did want to bring those sentiments back to the council because, again, I know there were some questions about us expending the money, but I can say that certainly the community was very, very grateful for us taking that on. So I just wanted to come back and let folks know how appreciative various segments of the community were that we stepped up to be a sponsoring partner for that event.
Councilmember Fort, I got the same feedback. I participated in the march. Thank you for being there at Mamandi, but a number of people echoed that sentiment, and we're extremely grateful and happy to be back because last year they had to cancel. And so it was great to see all the participants at the march, but also everybody who attended. So thank you. Councilmember Harrison.
Just two announcements. The District D Neighborhood Alliance meeting will be this Saturday. That is January 20th at 9:30 a.m., our usual location, the Crowder Center, just an open discussion. Hope you can make it. Councilmember Fort and Melton and Mayor Baldwin, you are always welcome too. If you'd like to come out to District D, please do. And we are going to have a meeting in February, on February 17th. We're going to move to the Carolina Pines Community Center. There was a request from someone in that neighborhood who wants to focus on bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. So we're going to take some of what we learned in the Transportation Committee, have presentations from transportation staff there. Thank you to everyone in the Transportation Department. And so this will be just a chance for folks in South Raleigh, you know, anyone who really wants to come out and think about what does it look like to get around safely, you know, without a car. Please come, bring your questions, bring your ideas. That'll be February 17th, also a Saturday morning at 9:30 at the Carolina Pines Community Center.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Melton?
Thanks. I stepped out for a moment. Councilmember Harrison, I'm happy to attend on the 17th. Unfortunately, the one you have this Saturday always conflicts with the office hours that I do, which I don't typically announce from the table because they're not really formal meetings. I just post up somewhere for 2 hours and folks can come have coffee and talk to me. But I'll make the one on the 17th. And other than that, I don't have a report today.
Thank you. Well, I do have one item, and it's very timely. We have the public hearing coming up for the TOD on the 30th of January at 7 p.m. And obviously, 8 minutes per side will not be enough time because we're expecting a number of people. So there is precedent for that. What we did with Downtown South was we set 1 hour per side. So that's what I would like to announce from the table today. It will be 1 hour per side at the public hearing. I want to see how many people sign up before we set a time limit. What I don't want to have happen is one person gets up and they take 10 minutes out of the hour or more, because we've seen that happen too. So we want to wait and see how many people sign up to set, then determine what type of time frame we will offer. I think Downtown South, it was virtual, but I think we did 2 minutes per person. So just going to wait and see on that, but it will be 1 hour per side for that particular hearing, and then we'll make further determination, clerk, based on the numbers that we have, and then I would ask that that be communicated up front so people understand when they sign up that we'll be setting a specific time, 1 hour per side, but there will be a specific time for each person. Okay? Thank you.
And so if we can, Mr. Marcus Kinraid is here from Wake County, and Allison Bradshaw, our CFO, will introduce him to bring forward the 2024 reval.
Okay. Thank you.
And I think he's leaving us and going to Roseville, right? So today you're on a road show.
He is hopping today for sure. So good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. Allison Bradshaw from the Finance Department. Today, Marcus Kinraid, the Wake County Tax Administrator, is here to present the 2024 revaluation results. As a reminder, Wake County bills and collects Raleigh's property taxes on our behalf. Mr. Kinraid and his team have spent many months preparing and collecting data for the 2024 revaluation. Following the presentation, I will review a couple of additional slides, including our next steps. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kinraid.
Welcome.
Good afternoon, Council. Mayor, it's a pleasure to be here. I actually delegated Rolesville this evening, so I didn't think 10 years ago I could have done it. I don't think I can do it anymore. So it's a privilege to once again present the results of the countywide revaluation project. This is the third revaluation that I've been responsible for in Wake County and the fifth one that I've worked on. So I know it's a scary and disconcerting thing for a lot of our residents, but I want to go through this in a orderly fashion, calm fashion, explain it, and give everyone the resources that they may need to contact our office if they need our assistance or have questions. So an overview of this project, tell you why we conduct a revaluation. I will walk you through the project itself. It's a monumental project, and it gets more monumental every time because, as you all know, Wake County's growing. I'll give you the results for the county and the city, and then we'll go through the information and tools that are available to property owners, and I'll talk about next steps. So the revaluation is the process of updating Wake County's real property values to reflect fair market value as of January 1, 2024. North Carolina law requires that every county in the state conduct a revaluation at least once every 8 years. Wake County was on an 8-year cycle until 2016. In March of 2016, the county commissioners opted to shorten the cycle to 4 years. In 2016, only one Big Ten county in the state was on a shorter cycle. That was Forsyth County. Today, only one Big Ten county remains on an 8-year cycle, and that's Cumberland County. Revaluations aren't about taxes. They're about equity and fairness in valuation. The taxes will follow as part of every jurisdiction's budget process. So the revaluation is focused on land and the structures on the land, both residential and commercial. And our target is fair market value, or the most probable price that a property would change hands in a market transaction. For the last 2 years, countywide, we've had about 30,000 residential sales, which we've utilized to adjust the values of properties that have not sold. The effective date of this particular project was about 2 weeks ago, January 1, 2024. This affects about 91% of Raleigh's tax base. What it does not affect is personal property. Personal property is machinery and equipment, business assets, boats, aircraft. It does not include public utility property, which is Progress Energy, PSNC, and it does not include registered motor vehicles. All of these properties are appraised every year, annually. So we are conducting what's called mass appraisal, and that's different from fee appraisal. If someone wants to market and sell their house, they will typically hire an appraiser to conduct what's called a fee appraisal. And they will just appraise that particular property. They'll generally charge $300 to $400 to do it, and they will focus on that property alone. We have to focus on every property through mass appraisal. So we use our data, and we use mass appraisal techniques and our training, and our cost for this particular project was about $19 per parcel to conduct this project. Something different between fee appraisal and mass appraisal is we have to defend our work. Fee appraisers generally don't. We considered all approaches to value while conducting this, so the sales approach to value, the cost approach, and the income approach for commercial properties. There's 4 steps in a revaluation. The first one we started in the spring of 2022, so almost 2 years ago. We reviewed our what we call valuation neighborhoods. We draw boundaries around similar properties or neighborhoods that act similarly in the market. In Wake County, there's about 5,100 valuation neighborhoods. Then we shifted to land pricing, and we focused heavily in this project on land pricing. County commissioners allowed us to increase our staffing over the last few years to where we're more appropriately staffed to really focus on land values and make sure our land values were correct. Then we shifted to field reviews. In a moment, I'll show you the statistics for how many properties we viewed in the field for this particular project. And then we send out notices of assessment to see how we did, and that's where we're at this week. For this particular project, we reviewed 177,455 properties in the field. That's about 42% of all the improved properties in Wake County. That is by far and away the most properties we have been able to inspect in the field for any project. And that's attributable to our staffing, once again. So 151,000 residential properties were viewed in the field, 16,457 rural properties were reviewed in the field, and then 9,200 commercial properties. Here's a 32-year history, and this is at the county level, this is not at the city level, of revaluation statistics countywide. So in 1992, there were 165,000 parcels in Wake County. Today, that number is closer to 430,000 parcels. You can see what the change in value was for each subsequent revaluation. Remember, for the 1992, 2000, 2008, and 2016, it was an 8-year cycle, so you'd have to divide those numbers by 2 to get a 4-year cycle. So generally speaking, on a 4-year cycle, since 1992, the county has increased about 20% per project, with the exception of 2016. That was when we were recovering from the Great Recession. As I said previously, we're closing in on 430,000 parcels countywide. That is the largest parcel count of any county in the state of North Carolina. 403,000 are residential, 23,600 are commercial. For the city, that count is 149,000 parcels, which can be broken out to 137,700 residential and about 11,150 commercial parcels. So for the county, the average increase countywide in the real property component of the tax base was 51%. And that can be broken down 53% residential, 45% commercial. That's more than double any increase we've seen in the history of Wake County since '92 on a 4-year cycle. For the city, the overall increase is 48%, which can be broken down 52% residential, 43% commercial. It's average county citywide. Then here is a jurisdictional comparison for all the municipal jurisdictions in the county, the fire district, and then the county as a whole. Wendell saw the largest increase, and Morrisville currently is showing the smallest increase. Morrisville's very heavy in hotel, motel, and office, and that's where we've seen the smallest increases. So this is a very high-level heat map for the city. It's kind of difficult to see anything here. The data, parcel-wide data, will be available this week, so your staff can download that with the new values and do zoomed-in heat maps if you desire that. But this is a high-level heat map for the city of Raleigh. The darker the green shade, the higher the increase in value. 100% plus in a few areas, and then 0 to 40%, but closer to 40% in the lightest shade greens. So for Raleigh, the residential property value, median residential property value, and this is on a per parcel basis, residential, has increased from $258,915 pre-revaluation to $391,705 post-revaluation. This is the median value. The commercial tax base has increased from $30.9 billion to $44.3 billion citywide. Commercial value drivers were mini storage. I've joked this is probably a bad joke, but I've told anyone, if you ever had a chance to invest in mini storage and you didn't do it, you made a big mistake. Mini storage is up dramatically. Industrial is up because we generally use the cost approach for industrial properties, and costs of materials are way up. Apartments are up, slightly above the median. And then I think you would expect retail, hotel, motel, and office to be lagging. That's the market has been talking about high office vacancy rates, things like that. So I think it would be to be expected that offices are lagging. So what we have seen for this particular project is a 2% shift in the real property base for Raleigh off of commercial to residential. So prior to the revaluation, it's 57% residential, 43% commercial. Post revaluation, 59% residential, 41% commercial. Here's a snapshot if you were interested in your special districts. I think you all are actually considering maybe creating a third special district in the future. Hillsborough District right now is up 46%, and then the downtown special district is up 31%. There's been a lot of press about the downtown special district. Values are lagging there, but they are still increasing. Vacancy rates are up, but market rental rates are up too. Here's just a snapshot, jurisdictional, the estimated fiscal year 24 tax base compared to the estimated fiscal year 25 tax base, and then the average annual growth through this 4-year cycle. So Raleigh's average annual growth through the cycle has been 2.41% per year. This will be needed for you all to compute your revenue neutral tax rate for fiscal year 25. When we started this project in the spring of 2022, our market values on real estate were already at 60% of market. Just in 2 years, we were at 60% of market. So we fully understood that if things continued like that, this would be a monumental revaluation. We could have been staring at a 70 or 80% increase if things had not slowed down in 2022 and 23. So we really doubled down and focused on the resources and tools that citizens would have to try to better understand the revaluation. So I think everyone has the pamphlet that will be going out in all the notices that are being mailed this week. That basically is the key to get to all the information that we've made available on our website, all the literature. There are a couple of videos. There's a video explaining how to appeal if someone wants to appeal. There's a revenue neutral calculator, which I'll talk about in a moment if someone wants to estimate what this value increase may mean in terms of their tax liability at a revenue neutral rate. And then we also put a new tool out there for people to find comparable sales through a better process. We've got frequently asked questions about just about everything we could think of available online. The key to getting to that information is in the brochure. This is just a snapshot of the comparable sales tool. So some property owner could go on this tool, key in their address, and it will pull up comparable sales in their neighborhood for them to be able to get a sense of what market value may be. This is not the sole indicator of value, but it is a tool for people to be able to utilize something we've never had previously, and it's very simple to use. The revenue neutral tax calculator, I've computed a revenue neutral rate for the county. We've plugged it in so someone can look at that and see what their county tax liability might be if a revenue neutral tax rate was adopted. Again, we'll have a video available walking through the entire appeals process. If someone reviews all the information that we put out there and decides that we're wrong, and we do make mistakes, I'll readily admit that. When you're dealing with 427,000 parcels, it's just not practical to get everyone right. So there will be a how-to on how to appeal if someone wants to appeal. There's no charge to appeal, and we're very friendly people. So if someone wants to appeal, we're more than willing to accommodate that. The first level of appeal and the due date for filing that appeal is called an informal appeal. The due date is March 1st. An informal appeal is just that. Someone submits information to us. We ask a lot of questions. We hope that they'll give us some information to go on. Our staff will review the appeal and make an adjustment or not make an adjustment. We'll send back a notice to property owners. Our goal is to get all of those appeals worked and a notice sent back before the end of April. The next level of appeal, if someone chooses to, is to appeal to the Board of Equalization and Review. The deadline to file to the Board of ENR is May 15th. The Board of ENR is made up of citizens of Wake County who have knowledge through career experience of the local market. Most of them are retirees who have time on their hands and are able to come in and sit and hear appeals all day, and it is an all-day thing. They're retired appraisers or attorneys or CPAs or government executives, former Raleigh City Council, former commissioners. Right now we have interest from 32 individuals who have submitted their credentials asking to be considered for the Board of ENR. I'll present that to the county commissioners, their second meeting of February, and then we'll have a Board of ENR. And we'll train them, we'll break them up into subpanels of hopefully 6 subpanels, 3 commercial, 3 residential, and we will start hearing appeals in late April. And most likely we will go through, I dare speculate, but I'm afraid it'll probably be October or November, because I think we'll have quite a few appeals from this project just based on the size of the valuation increase. Tax relief. So the general statutes, the Machinery Act of North Carolina, dictate what can be offered to residents in terms of tax relief. We have what's called the homestead exclusion, or the senior citizens or disabled program. That is an income and age-based program. So a property owner has to be 65 or older, and then they have to qualify by income. The income limit is adjusted annually by the State Department of Revenue. That income level is uniform and applies to every county in the state at the same level. And it's $36,700 income for 2023. It's $36,700 in Wake County. It's $36,700 in Mecklenburg County. It's $36,700 in Bertie and Gates County. That's uniform per the state constitution. $36,700 is a very low income for someone to be able to live in Wake County and own a home. In the city, currently, there's only 1,550 households that qualify for the homestead exclusion, just because it's such a low income threshold. So we will make this information available. It's in the pamphlet. We have worked hard to increase our outreach on the available tax relief. We sent out a blast to 150 of our community partners again today. Most of them are churches and nonprofits to try to help us make property owners aware of these opportunities for tax relief. There's also a tax deferment program. It's called the Circuit Breaker that's available in North Carolina. County-wide, there are only 115 properties that elect to enroll in the circuit breaker. In the city, it's only 62. The reason it's not popular is because it's a deferment and it's not an exclusion. So if someone sells their home, they have to pay the tax back that was deferred for the prior 3 years. It's not popular. And then there's a disabled veterans exclusion. The veteran has to have a 100% service-connected disability. They can qualify, and we will remove $45,000 in value from the assessed value of their home. The application deadline for tax relief is June 1st. That's to be considered timely. If we receive an application after June 1st, the applicant would need to show good cause as to why they were late. And they can apply through December 31st. After showing good cause of why they were late. So here's the remaining schedule. We are at January 16th. I came here from the county commissioners meeting, so I've briefed the county commissioners. There's several other meetings lined up in the future. New value notices will be going out tomorrow and for the rest of the week, broken up in chunks. If someone wishes to appeal informally, March 1st is the deadline. If they wish to skip the informal process and appeal just to the Board of E&R, they can do that. Again, the appeal deadline for that's May 15th. And then, of course, this will coincide with your upcoming budget process where you'll need to compute a revenue neutral tax rate that needs to be reported. It does not need to be adopted. Okay? This is our customer service call center number. It will be fully staffed. If someone has a question or a concern, they can call that number and one of our trained appraisers will pick that up. That number is also on the business cards that you all received, or they can send an email to revaluation@wake.gov. Now, depending on how many inquiries we receive this week, I can't guarantee that we'll respond same day on that, but we'll try. Or they can come to our office in downtown. I wouldn't really suggest that. Parking downtown isn't the greatest, so we're much more accessible via the phone or email, but if they want to come see us, that's fine too. And with that, council members, I'd be glad to try to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much for coming today. And yeah, this is a big topic. So lots there to process and think about. Councilmember Branch, you had your hand raised?
Yes, excuse me, definitely. Thank you for the information and that you provided. And I know our city staff has a lot more that they'll be sharing with us as we move forward. My question goes around, we've had a lot of conversations around property tax relief from the community and, you know, just around among electeds at the city and county level. I see in your presentation on page 29, it states programs and requirements are set by North Carolina general statutes. Basically, the General Assembly sets that. So that's why we only have those 3 options that are available.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of any conversations that the General Assembly may be having to try to make adjustments to any of these requirements or any new program to assist people that have been in their home for years?
Sure. So I've been doing this for going on 22 years. So if anyone is in tune with the pains of property tax increasing affecting homeowners, I generally am. They talk to me about it. So last year at the General Assembly, we meaning a group of assessors and the Department of Revenue staff, School of Government staff, we created a work group to try to come up with a proposal for practical and targeted tax relief that wasn't one size fits all, but was targeted to the cost of living of jurisdictions. We came up with the idea of using a HUD index of incomes, and we chose 60% AMI, basically using HUD. And that seemed like a practical solution. It was targeted and provided relief at a level that was appropriate to jurisdictional income levels and jurisdictional home values. Part of the problem that's always occurred at the General Assembly was if someone introduced a bill to increase the income levels, that could devastate the tax base of small rural counties. Almost exempt their entire tax base on residential because income levels in small rural counties were below the new income level. So it was always fought pretty viciously by small rural counties. So we had this urban versus rural problem down at the General Assembly. So our idea for a targeted solution based on the HUD index was not approved by bill drafting staff at the General Assembly, who said it was unconstitutional, violated the uniform provisions of the state constitution. So that was something we tried last year. So it seems like anything else that we try is going to have to be, I don't even know what it'll be, $100,000 across the board decrease in value for every residential property owner, something like that. But again, I think that would be fought by the small rural jurisdictions where it would truly devastate their tax base. I think you're aware probably that there are some counties that offer grant programs. Mecklenburg County offers grants. I think the city of Charlotte offers grants. Durham County, Orange County, and Buncombe County offer grants to help individuals pay their property taxes, but those are offered in the form of a welfare program. They're not tax relief per se programs, so they're administered by social services departments in those jurisdictions, and you have to budget for it. So in essence, you're levying a tax to pay your tax. So it's sort of but that is what some jurisdictions have opted to do. Groups have I'm sure pushed the city to do something similar. I know that they've talked to the county commissioners, but so far that just hasn't taken off here.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Patton.
Hi. And thanks for the presentation. Following up on that, and I'm not asking you to act as an expert on other jurisdictions, but in those grant programs, do you happen to know anecdotally the subscription rate? Like, are they taken up by the residents who would be eligible at a high rate, or?
In terms of tax relief?
The relief grants that you just described.
I don't have an answer to that. We've done some research. We've tried to identify, using HUD numbers, again, how many households are we missing? How many have not tried to apply? And the best numbers that I've come up with countywide is somewhere in the 7,000 to 8,000 household range, and we've currently got about 4,000 that are qualified in the county currently. So we're always trying to reach those 3,000 to 4,000 that, for whatever reason, have not applied or don't know about the program. I would expect that in rural jurisdictions, the numbers that are qualified for tax relief are far higher than what you see in the urban jurisdictions, just because most people can't afford to live here on that low of an income and own a home. So something else I wanted to touch on when we're talking about tax relief is, because we've had the opportunity to get out in neighborhoods far more frequently for this particular cycle, and we sort of know, generally speaking, where the problems lie. We sent teams of appraisers out in groups of 2 to neighborhoods that generally had homes that were constructed prior to 1980, and where we have seen teardowns occurring, basically redevelopment, gentrification, whatever you want to call it. We're trying to identify properties that likely, if they were sold, would be torn down, replaced. Of those properties, how many have what I call legacy homeowners residing in them? So the original owner, or if not the original owner, someone who's been in there at least 25 years, looking to see if any building permits had been issued on that property in the last 20 to 25 years. And once we identified those properties, we tried to talk to those property owners to see if they would talk to us. Sometimes people don't want to talk to our government appraisers, and that's fine too. But in doing that, we were trying to identify homes that really had not been improved. The homeowners are just living there, living out their days, and they want to be left alone, and the properties have not been substantially improved. And if they were to be sold, it would require extensive repairs to sell it. And we tried to identify those properties and make adjustments, deferred maintenance adjustments, in advance to take some of the responsibility off of them to appeal. So we have taken that extra step for this project, something we've never had the staffing or the time to try to do in the past. So.
Okay. Any additional questions? Okay, thank you so much for being here. And this conversation will continue at our retreat. Thank you.
Yeah, so real quickly to that point, Allison Bradshaw again. So certainly thank you for that important information for Raleigh property owners. It is a lot of data to digest. So really, I just wanted to quickly highlight the revenue neutral calculation that was mentioned earlier in the presentation. This is a little different than your average year. The city is required to publish a revenue neutral tax rate. This rate is the amount of property tax that Raleigh would take in after normalizing for growth, assuming the revaluation had not occurred. So that was a lot to say. The revenue neutral tax rate will impact each individual property owner differently depending on how their property changed in value. As mentioned, we are going to work through this calculation and we'll be prepared at the budget finance update as a portion of your retreat to be able to talk through that. And as mentioned earlier, the budget process establishes your property tax rate that you adopt annually just as you would in any year. So we are going to be sharing this information on the city's website and our social media to make sure that the push is out. Communications is going to be doing that, so thanks to them. Again, at your January 2024 council retreat in just a few weeks, we will talk you through the calculation for revenue tax neutral. As Marcus showed, there will be some additional GIS data, heat maps to create some visuals, and then as a part of your 25 budget process, just as you do every year, you would set and adopt your tax rate, and then that would be the rate that would go out on current tax bills. So with that, that ends my portion of the presentation.
Councilmember Branch and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I just have one request as far as supplying information, and maybe it can be the manager's update. Since our last rate change and where we went rate neutral, each year, whatever project or whatever thing we had, it could be a bond, it could be for transportation, property tax rate would increase accordingly to that budget. Can you some way show us from that time until now what those items were and what that increase was? Because I know as we're going forward, there's some things that we say we want to do, but one things that we tend to do is, yeah, we say we go rate neutral, but you know, the very next year we need to either have a bond or there needs to be something to cover costs because costs have gone up, even on us. So if we can have that historical data, I think that may help us in whatever rate we set. You know, it gives us that foundation, that background for that rate.
Absolutely, we can do that.
That's what staff was planning on doing. So when they come to it, showing us exactly that. So that'll be good.
Cool, I'm glad. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I was just going to ask that if we could get some information on our city website that references the county resources, I think that could be helpful. I understand that they'll have the information, but often we're the first stop for folks, whether it's something we directly are responsible for or not. And since the county collects our property taxes, I think even having just a link, a banner or something, so that if folks are coming to the Raleigh website, they will be able to end up in the right place to receive the assistance and more information.
We will.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Patton?
Yeah, thanks. So just to, there's been a lot of jargon, a lot of things that just for our residents watching at home, just kind of put it in a, explain it to me like I'm five kind of language. Right now, our city tax rate is 43 cents per $100, and that brought us to the $1.2 billion budget that we approved. So what you'll bring to us is some number that's lower than 43 cents that would result in the same $1.2 billion. And then it will be up to the council to decide if we do that number or some other number, right?
Correct.
Okay. Just want, and what that also means is any individual resident may or may not have their individual bill affected based on the council decision.
Absolutely correct.
I just want to make sure, there's a lot of info, so I wanted to really distill it down to 2 sentences for our residents.
So to that point, we will bring several options because what we're also weighing internally is the list of demands and the needs that are across the city, across various departments. And to Councilmember Branch's point, typically if you look at past practices, not just here, but other organizations, when you hold the line and do the revenue neutral, then you come back next year with the tax increase. So really, are you doing yourself any favor? You do it now or you wait till later? So part of what we do as a team is we look at several different options to be able to bring forward some alternatives for you guys to be able to meet the needs of some of the things that we have said are priorities that we just don't have the current resources to be able to do. So more to follow. Just hang tight with us. We'll be able to bring something forward next week.
I think that especially applies in affordable housing.
Facilities, equipment.
Yep. And we can do bonds, but then we're still raising taxes as well. So that's what staff will be discussing and showing us options. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next we have appointments.
Let me get back down to that point. All right, good afternoon. I'll start off. Appearance Commission, 2 alternate vacancies. Councilmember Jones has nominated Kat Schmidt and Dave Toms, so both of those names will be appearing on your next ballot for consideration. Environmental Advisory Board, 1 regular vacancy. Kaylin Peterson received 1 vote. Sana Siddiqui received 6, so Sana Siddiqui would be appointed. Fair Housing Hearing Board, 1 regular vacancy. Wanda Hunter received 3 votes. Christopher West, 4, so that will be coming back on your next ballot. Historic Cemeteries Advisory Board, 1 regular vacancy. Keith Pacella received 7 votes, so would be appointed. Raleigh-Durham Airport Authority, 1 regular vacancy. Dr. Jerry McCrane received 4 votes. Shelley Winters received 3, so that will be coming back on your next ballot. Raleigh Transit Authority, 1 alternate vacancy. Byron Leak received 6 votes, so would be appointed. Stormwater Management Advisory Commission, 2 regular vacancies. Councilmember Jones nominated Ian McMillan and Melody Whitford, and Councilmember Harrison nominated Aliana Wilson, so all 3 of those names will be coming back on your next ballot. Down to nominations. Appearance Commission, 1 regular vacancy. The term of Will Gaskins is expiring soon, and he wishes to be considered for reappointment.
Move to reappoint.
Do we have a second? Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. If everybody could raise their hand, that would be helpful, so I can get a visual on. Councilmember Black? I just need a visual so I can count the votes.
Arts Commission, 1 regular vacancy. The term of Mary Silver is expiring, and she wishes to be considered for reappointment.
Move to reappoint.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Police Advisory Board, 1 regular vacancy. Mental health provider slot. The term of Cindy Cottle is expiring, and she wishes to be considered for reappointment.
Move to reappoint.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. That was unanimous.
Police Advisory Board, 1 regular vacancy. At-large slot. Resignation has been received from at-large member Ty Harrell, so that will be appearing on your next ballot for nominations. Raleigh Convention and Performing Arts Centers Authority, 1 regular vacancy. The term of Lynn Minges is expiring soon, and she does not wish to be considered for reappointment, so that'll be coming back on your next ballot. So she'll continue to serve until replaced. Raleigh Sister Cities, 1 regular vacancy. The term of Cody Charland is expiring soon, and he does not wish to be considered for reappointment. Same scenario, will continue to serve until replaced. Stormwater Management Advisory Commission, 1 regular vacancy. The term of Nicola Hill is expiring, and she wishes to be considered for reappointment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
And lastly, Substance Use Advisory Commission, 1 regular vacancy. Resignation has been received from Nicholas Slovak, so that will be appearing on your next ballot.
Yes.
Cassidy, just 2 items. I want to remove Aliana Wilson from Stormwater Management Advisory Commission. I don't think she lives in the city of Raleigh, unfortunately. So remove her nomination. And then I wanted to put in a nomination for the District D Community Engagement Board seat for Allison Markert, Markert.
And how we've handled this in the past is that it's a District D slot. So the district council member, when a vacancy arises, will make a nomination and still needs council votes. It's up to you guys if, I think you indicated her application was in the system, so it's up to you guys if you want to consider it next meeting or now.
I will just point out that I went to the CEB board the other day, and they asked for a youth representative. I asked them what they were looking for, and so Allison is a young person who is currently enrolled at NC State and has a leadership role in student government and background in natural resources. So just FYI.
Can I second her nomination now?
You can. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
And that was due to the vacancy, by the way, of the District D slot. Ideally, we could kind of present these in one package, so I was waiting to announce that resignation. So thank you. She will be appointed. That's it.
Okay, next we have the
I
report.
have a quick question on that. If we can go back to the Raleigh-Durham Airport Authority, I saw the vote was 4-3. I know we're retroactively wanting to make it to the second, and I was wondering if we can do a roll call. I'm just wondering who didn't vote.
Sure. Dr. Jerry McCrane, Councilmember Branch, Mayor Baldwin, oops, sorry, read the wrong line. Dr. Jerry McCrane is Mayor Baldwin, Councilmember Patton, Councilmember Harrison, and Mayor Pro Tem Melton. Shelley Winters, Councilmembers Jones, Fort, and Branch.
Is this something, can we bring this to a vote now? Because it wasn't the thing that we wanted to retroactively do it, so we need to get somebody on the board.
It's the council's discretion on how you would want to proceed with that, if you wanted to bring it back or handle it now.
I think it's a little more complicated. Let's bring it back.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Shelley Winters.
That
Just, I know I supported Shelley, but my thing is, that is so out of our normal process when we have the vote. That's all I'm asking, because I just want us to be careful, because are we going to do this again for other committees?
This has not
Let's
been
hope everybody
our,
votes for it.
that has not been our protocol.
You're raising the issue about the time-sensitive.
Yeah, and that's what I tried to clarify. We're retroactively putting this on. I'm sorry, let me get closer. We're retroactively putting this on, which we announced last meeting that we needed to do. So if we were sensitive about it last time, why are we not this time?
Dickie Thompson's able to stay in the seat until the reappointment is made. This is just to meet like a statutory obligation, right? And not like a quorum issue. It's not
Yes.
preventing them from doing their business.
That is accurate.
Is that right?
Okay. Whatever you want to do. Has it been properly seconded?
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor? 4. So there's no,
Okay, thank you.
you'll bring it back next time. Thank you. City attorney's report.
No report.
Okay. City clerk.
Afternoon, Mayor and Council, Lou Bonapane, City Clerk, and your agenda materials had various minutes.
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that was unanimous as well. Thank you. Next, we are going into closed session, and a motion is in order. GS 143-318-11A3, to consult with the city attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. We'll now enter closed session. Thank you.
During closed session, the City Council received information from the City Attorney regarding a potential claim in the matter of George C. Venters versus City of Raleigh and provided direction to staff. We are in recess until public comment at 7. I'll see y'all then.